Look at us now.
Ooh, Jesus.
It's what, 11 a.m.?
Combat.
Oh,
Whoa.
You fit in seamlessly in this weird MK environment.
Do you want a margarita?
We're gonna do it. On your marks, get set, and go down.
Yes, we're here to bang, eat chowder. Hello, everyone. Welcome on this 29th day of May, 2026. My name is Luke Thomas, and welcome.
What the fuck was that?
I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Brian Campbell. Well, it's more of an MK thing, but Brian Campbell thing, too. Hello, everyone, on this 29th day of May, 2026. My name is Luke Thomas. Welcome to another episode of Morning Kombat. I am merely one half of your hosting duo. I join you from the capital of Estados Unidos right here in Washington, D.C., joined by my Georgia friend, not the one from Tbilisi, but the one from Atlanta. He is disbarred, but he's ready to be your friend. It's Jed Meshew. Hello, Jed. How are you?
I'm shit, Luke. We were talking off air. You weren't around when we were talking off air. My place got flooded this week because the people doing construction in the unit next to mine hit a pipe, and I was not home for it. So it's been an adventure. I am currently from the capital of Atlantis, not Atlanta, Georgia. I was underwater for half of yesterday.
Yeah, I will tell you, hitting the pipe is something that a lot of people do on this show, if you know what I'm saying. We're ready to bang, eat chowder. This is the Big Bang Jang thing where he would say, we're gonna bang. What he was trying to say was his big thing was, I bang you. That's what he would always say. I bang you.
Yeah.
One time he tried to go, he was describing himself, and maybe it was Deontay. I forget exactly which fight it was. And he's like, we're going to bang each other. But
It's great. I want to fuck.
It kind of
Chuck,
sounded
you know?
like he was saying we're going to bang, eat chowder. So that's kind of a thing we've been saying on the show here since then. Yeah.
Terrific.
It's fun.
Speaking of hitting the pipe, the third member of our broadcast.
Yeah,
I was waiting. Yeah, it was a great
hitting that
segment.
pipe.
You know, yeah.
What's up, Long Island? How are you, bud?
I'm good. I was in Massachusetts for a few days this week, visiting my nieces. They were both in a school play. It was as terrible as it sounds, but they did a great job. You know, shout out to them. And
What was the play?
Shrek Jr., which I don't know the difference between that and Shrek. It was basically just Shrek. Neither of them really a big role. One of them was a narrator. The other one was a tree in the background. Yes, a tree. But she was great. She was great at that tree, man. It was good.
Did Shrek have a Scottish accent?
No, and Shrek was a girl, which, you know, I'm not saying it can't be a girl, but it was throwing me off. Also, their mics weren't working the whole time. And as someone who like works in production, I was just like, who is running this? I wanted to go back there and like help out. I was like, dude, they're all wearing
this ramshackle children's play.
Dude, they're all wearing gloves and not one of them was working. And it was like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. But yeah, it was a good time. Shout out.
In any event, we have, I normally say on Friday, we got a lot to get to. I mean, we have a show to get to. I don't know if we have a lot to get to because it's funny, right, Jed? Like this summer's objectively going to be quite big. This UFC event at the White House is going to be quite big. Conor McGregor's return in July is going to be quite big. I don't know how big Islam's fight with Gary, the presumed August fight, which has not been announced, but sort of presumed. I don't know if that's going to be like big, but it's always important for the top fighter in the sport to get a title defense in. So it's a big summer, but then we've got cards. Then we got cards like this one, which is like, I mean, it's LFA on the road. They're just calling it UFC basically. I mean, more or less, right?
There's some highbrow fights here. It's a weird amalgamation for sure, right? And part of that's because they're just doing hey, we're going to Macau. Who is vaguely Chinese that we can put in or around this event? But, you know, like we've had the 2 road to UFC events that have happened the last couple of days are like not that dissimilar from some of the undercard action we've got going on here.
All right, fair enough. So let's get this whole thing started if we can. The thumbs up on the video, hit subscribe if you haven't already. There's Jed on various social channels if you're interested in such a thing. Let's see. We have an email, morningkombat@gmail.com. This is going to be for fan subs. This is going to be for dead wrongs. This is going to be just to reach the show. Fire your email here. And then, of course, we've got merch, morningkombat.shop. Now, Cinderella her ride is about to turn back into a pumpkin here because these are only going to be available today, tomorrow, and then Sunday. And so by the end of Sunday, these go away. We have the 3 designs. We have the Renegades of Donk design, which is this first one here you see on the left. Then there you go right there. And then we have the DC 101 kind of inspired design. And then last but certainly not least, perhaps my favorite design of all time, Whippets in the parking lot, if you know what time it is. Jed, you ever done Whippets?
No. I have lots of brain cells.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. It's,
That tracks.
It the high works, like you feel it, but it lasts like 5 seconds. Like, it's not really a sustained high.
Yeah, I mean, having never done it just feels the same as like doing like a CO2 pop or like a NOS pop or whatever.
Yeah,
and those
I'm
are fun.
guessing.
Like,
I mean, it's been since high school, so it's been a while, but we've all partaken.
Look, we've all lived past lives, but I've never done Whippets in the parking lot.
Well, there's always a time in the future. Don't you worry about that.
Man, I really hope me at 40 is not doing Whippets. That feels like that's regression.
Let me explain to you something about what's going to hit you, okay? In your midlife crisis, you are much closer to doing Whippets in the parking lot than you could ever possibly imagine, okay? Don't think, I've outgrown this. Oh, have you? You will see. You will see. Your 40s is tough, bro. All your shit starts to come apart in your life, like your body, your career, like the whole thing just becomes, it's quite strange.
Old man corner right now. Just been like, you have nothing to look forward to. You might as well just roll over and die.
I'm just trying to give people a warning. Everyone thinks that like, the escalation of my 20s and 30s, this will just continue. And I'm here to warn you, it will not. Like you have to be prepared for that.
Don't bring that damn negativity. My 30s have rocked. Like my 20s were kind of shit because I think everybody's 20s are secretly shit.
Yeah.
You're just really drunk, so you don't notice a lot of it being dumb. My 30s have kicked ass, so I'm assuming my 40s will be great. And don't bring your fucking negativity to me, Luke.
My 30s were great too. I was on television a bunch. I got married. I made a bunch of money. And I'm still doing okay, but it's like, if you think it's just going to escalate, you're close to doing those Whippets in the parking lot. Don't think you're not. All right. But maybe not this weekend because we've got other matters to attend to. So without wasting another moment, let's get right to it. Let's talk about what's going on with the UFC. They returned to Macau, China in the first time in about 18 months, 2 years, give or take. And in the main event, Jed, we've got Song Yadong, and he's going to face off with Deiveson Figueiredo. I think we actually have the literal face-off that they got. By the way, Jed Meshew, I don't even mention this, is with MMAfighting.com. I apologize. But in any event, let me just ask basically, like, why is this fight happening? You've got 2 guys here who have done well. Figueiredo's best work, I would argue, by far would be at flyweight, where he was champion. He has been serviceable to good at bantamweight. His last win, a split decision over Montel Jackson, which is a fine win. And Song Yadong has been kind of like, let's throw him against the deep end, he fails. Throw him against the deep end, he fails. But then tends to beat everybody else. Still just 28 years old. So, Jed, what is on the line between these two? Between a guy who can't quite break through but is still quite young, and a guy who is serviceable but maybe on his last legs-ish up a weight class?
Kind of nothing. It's just why it's a weird fight. Like when they announced it was sort of a weird fight. It's not a bad fight. I want to be really clear, right? Like Figgy, we can talk about where he's at in his stage of his career, how much juice he has left to squeeze. But in general, 2 top 7, top 8 bantamweights, really fun fight. But given where they are both at, it's very unclear what this leads to. And, maybe you just don't always have to focus on like, what does this mean for what's the roadmap after here? And you can just enjoy a fight for fight's sake. And in those terms, I plan to enjoy this. But like Song Yadong, like you said, he's not really in the title mix right now. A win over Figgy helps return, but it's not like, this one puts you one away. It's you've already lost to most of the dudes above you anyway. So you beat Figgy, and now where else are you going? And for Figgy, he at least does have something very clearly at stake here. Whereas I think if Song ends up losing this fight, he's still 28, right? Like he's still many years away from being totally cooked. And so he can kind of piece together some kind of a run in his career after this. If Figgy loses, it's the end, right? Like he has lost most of his recent fights. The Montel Jackson win was anything from authoritative, still a win, but not like over the moon for it. And so this is just, hey, if you lose this, I mean, we're exclusively going to use you as a litmus test for the upcoming crop of rising bantamweights. He loses this one, it's going to be Raul Rosas Jr. It's going to be Peyton Talbot. Like, that's where he's going from this.
Tell me if you feel like this is a fair assessment or a little bit harsh or wherever you come down on it. Song Yadong is only 28 years old, and he does have some good wins. He beat Henry Cejudo, albeit somewhat sketchy, but he certainly had a nice win over Chris Gutierrez, Ricky Simone, Marlon Moraes, all the way back in 2022. But you get the idea. Yet, to me, he just really hasn't improved in the way that I thought he would when he was so young and in his early to mid-20s. You thought, okay, certainly by the time he's 28, he'll have developed to a degree. And I know he's training hard, and I'm sure he's improving incrementally. But Jed, it sometimes feels to me like the improvement is somewhat imperceptible. Do you share this assessment? And if this assessment is true, why is it happening like this?
Buddy, not only do I share this assessment, I got yelled at for this very assessment on his last fight, which, by the way, thanks for bringing me on for this show so Uriah Faber can be pissed off at me again, because he was pissed off at me last time.
How do you know? Did he message you?
No, he talked about it on O'Malley's podcast because I didn't know. And then my friends were like, I'm pretty sure Uriah Faber just shit on you. And
what did he say?
He's just like, I don't know anything. Because like he was mad at me because I said both before and then after I reinforced it, because I was like, because my thought going into the O'Malley was, I don't think Song Yadong's getting any better. I feel like he's plateaued, and he's likely plateaued because he's a Team Alpha Male, and this is kind of how every fighter at Team Alpha Male is. And so I would encourage him to go elsewhere to get a new look. Like, Team Alpha Male is not a bad gym, but I think historically it is evident to me that they have not year over year produced championship level fighters, very good fighters. They can get you to a baseline level, but the small details that matter, like you said, I don't think Song Yadong has improved to the extent you would imagine for a guy with his talent and ability. And ultimately, I could be wrong. That could be a Song Yadong thing. Progress is not linear in this sport for everybody, but he's been the same dude forever. And so, like, yeah, I'm with you on that. And then Faber got mad at me, and now I'm here to say the same thing. I hope I'm wrong, right? Like, I don't think he performed poorly against Sean O'Malley, but I think he had three things that he could do. And when O'Malley didn't play into those things, O'Malley won the fight. And that's kind of been the book on him at this point. If you have these high-end level fighters with a wealth of skills, they can sort of take advantage of fast, strong, athletic, explosive man who exclusively throws hooks, but like can mix in takedowns. And so I hope that I'm wrong, because he is still 28. He is good at fighting. I just would like to see him kind of achieve his full potential. And I don't think we're seeing that.
What would be an area of development you would pinpoint as the thing that could legitimately improve his game?
A jab. Could we start with a jab? Like, He feels to me like a very Team Alpha Male fighter in that he does not jab a lot. He's got good low kicks, and we saw those on display against Sean O'Malley. Everything is thrown 100%. Like, there is no tempo. There's no varying of things. It is 0 to 100. He feints or he cracks. There's no in between. So like, that's not like that advanced of a striking system. And he does have power, and he can pull these things off. He's super durable. He can wrestle. Like I said, I'm not calling him a bad fighter. He's a very good fighter. But like, you've got to get something else. You have to add a superpower or like a lot of skills to the table. I think a jab and footwork would be if I could be like, please add these two things to your game. That's also true of like 90% of MMA fighters in general. But for him, especially, like, his footwork is not great. He can cut off the cage a little bit, but then he let O'Malley escape a bunch. Like, when he would even kind of get him cornered, O'Malley would then just kind of shoot out, and he wouldn't punish him for it. And like a jab, I think, would be just tremendously helpful for him in this regard as well. And so, like, just those two things would be great to see from him coming into this fight.
In terms of, I share probably a lot of that. I think the thing to me is he's been good at a lot of things. His stats kind of speak to that. He's active enough. in terms of his striking output. He has a positive differential in terms of strikes landed versus strikes absorbed, which is also pretty good. He's got pretty good takedown defense. His takedown percentage accuracy is a little low, but that's not the end of the world. It's not the biggest part of his game. But the thing I would pinpoint, Jed, is certainly I would agree with the jab. I think that's an important component. But it just feels like to me, if you're good at everything and you don't have some kind of go-to in your game that really advances it or sets you apart from the pack, you're just going to get results like this. Because he is a good athlete too, right? As you mentioned, he's durable, powerful. You know, he can wrestle with some of the better guys when he needs to. He doesn't seem to gas too much, although hard to say in that Sandhagen fight, but that was partly a lot of blood as well. So it's, you know, I'm not sure exactly what to ascribe that to. But in general, it's not like he is sort of known for bad cardio. But if you're MMA kind of requires you to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. But to me, that's a little bit incorrect. It requires you to be a jack of most trades and then an expert in some. And I don't think he's got that next gear yet. 28 years old, it's still possible. He's certainly got great experience at this point for a 28-year-old. He's faced the best. I mean, the guys he's lost to, Jed, Sean O'Malley, Petr Yan, Sandhagen, all the way back in 2021, he lost to Kyler Phillips. I'd probably put him ahead of Kyler Phillips at this point for sure. Does have that draw against Cody Stamann, but that was, 7 years ago at that point, right? It was a long, long time ago. So I think I still have some belief in a potential upside for him. But if he can't get it done against a guy like Figueiredo at this particular stage, and Figueiredo has a negative differential, right? So he gets hit much more than he lands, and his landing output is so low. Plus, Song Yadong has pretty good takedown defense. If you look at the odds, Jed, from friends at DraftKings, Song Yadong minus 600, Deiveson Figueiredo plus 440. This is Song Yadong's fight to lose. I don't think, to answer the original question that I asked, I don't think it necessarily means a ton, except if Song Yadong were to lose. And then that would be, I don't know if catastrophic's the word, but it would be quite bad.
Yeah, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it would be catastrophic just because he's young enough that it would be catastrophic for this moment of his career, right? Like he loses this one and it's okay. You are now fighting Loke Dog. Like you are going back of the pack for sure if you lose this, but he's still young enough to chip away and kind of just chop that wood, get back into this position. But it would, and the optics would be terrible. Like you're supposed to win this fight. And when I first looked at the odds from our dear friends at DraftKings, I was like, man, those seem super long because Deiveson Figueiredo is a really good fighter. And then as I dug into the fight, I was like, man, I'm having a hard time finding how Figgy gets the W here, especially at this age where his, I won't say worst qualities, but you sort of metastasize the older you get and your game becomes the biggest portions of your game anyway. That just becomes the whole horse. So I think this is a really tough out for Figgy. And so if he does manage to pull this off, sick. That's a tremendous sort of late career win. You're always talking about in the lightweights. That's awesome for Figgy. But the other side of that is it's a really, really, really tough loss if Song Yadong can't get the W here.
So let's talk about the Figueiredo side of things. He is currently, I believe, 38 years of age. His birthday is apparently in December, so he'll be 39 then. If you look at his more recent performances, he's lost 3 of his last 4. However, they are to Petr Yan, Corey Sandhagen, and Umar Nurmagomedov. The Nurmagomedov one being the last one from UFC 324 at the beginning of this year. In between that, he has a split decision win over Montel Jackson. I thought it was a pretty clean win for him, but fair enough, it was a split decision just the same. And before that, he had done pretty well at bantamweight. Wins over Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Vera, right? That was all pretty good. But he kind of hit a wall up against the top here. So if he were to lose to Song Yadong, given that everyone else he's lost to in this division thus far is somebody who has either had a title or fought for one, or, and Umar probably might even end up being one, does that almost by proxy put Song Yadong into that category? What would it mean if he were to add this as an L in terms of the grouping?
It doesn't put him into that category because Song is the worst of those fighters. And I know that because he also lost to those fighters, right? So it's sort of just what happens at the end stage of a career. You start, at first, the guys you lose to, if you are Jose Aldo, are the greatest guys in the world because you are the greatest guy in the world. So you're losing to Max Holloway, your champion. Like that's how that shakes out. But then the longer you hang around and you're clearly like nobody would argue that Deiveson Figueiredo is in his peak right now. So just the longer you stay, the lower the bar of beating you gets. And so instead of I've exclusively losing to champions, future champions, and title challengers, it's I'm losing the top 10 guys to I'm Tony Ferguson. I've lost 8 fights in a row or whatever. I don't know that Figueiredo's right there, right? Like, and I'm not saying Song Yadong is Dennis Seaver a la BJ Penn, right? But like, I don't think that this a win over Figueiredo is like you are right there at the peak at this version of Figueiredo. Maybe you could sell me, right? Like if Figgy comes out and looks amazing and this is a really hard fought, like sick battle, then I'll be like, okay, Figgy still got gas left in the tank. Song Yadong has shown some improvement. Maybe he is really on his way to fighting for a belt one day. But otherwise, I think it's just you have to win this fight because the expectation is you put the old dog down. And if you can't, then we're going to reevaluate if we should even be behind you in the first place.
You know, one of the big drop-offs from his game from flyweight to bantamweight is he's still able to get takedowns and stuff, but like the way in which he was able to weaponize scrambling to take advanced positions, he just really can't do anymore. Now he has to like methodically get there, get the takedown, pass, move to mount. And he can do that to a degree. He did that in a couple of these fights, certainly against Montel Jackson for a little bit. He was able to do that, but not consistently, and certainly not nearly enough against fights like Nurmagomedov, for example. Like that kind of that kind of energy spark and that ability to create offense quickly, that has been largely taken away from him. Do you think Song Yadong is up to the task of kind of maintaining that line of defense?
Yeah, and I think that is ultimately sort of the question of this fight, at least to me, is because we know that Song is going to outwork Figgy. Like that's just the numbers just say that he is going to be a more consistent worker in the fight. The question is, can Figueiredo either make his moments of offense count like he did much more at flyweight with just like big punches, or as he's done a little bit more up at bantamweight, can I get a body lock? Can I get a takedown? Can I sort of smother and control in a way that Song doesn't like he's not the best takedown defender in the sport, but he's pretty good at that and like pretty good at getting back up. And so I think he's going to be able to do it. But if Figgy can come out and like duck under the first wild right hand that Song throws, get into a body lock, hit an inside trip, and then spend the next 4.5 minutes just on top position, advancing, moving into more dominant locations, getting a couple of ground and pound shots off, this fight gets much more interesting to me because he has been better at smothering those scrambles at bantamweight from other fighters. But I just don't know if that's like super viable over 25 minutes against a guy like Song.
We have this clip here. I guess our friend Brian Campbell spoke to Figueiredo about some disparaging comments Petr Yan made about him and Song Yadong. Let's take a look.
Well, you had an opportunity to face off with Song Yadong yesterday. UFC posted that face off to social media, and current bantamweight champion Petr Yan responded with, quote, "My kids, let's go," referencing the fact that he has victories over both of you. I'm curious to know what you make of that tweet from the champion.
Esse Petrian é filho da puta, ele pode ter certeza que eu vou encontrar ele lá na frente e ele vai saber o verdadeiro eu, entendeu? Ele viu que quando eu toquei nele eu fiz ele sentar. A próxima vez eu vou fazer ele dormir.
All right, so if you guys didn't see the if you're an audio listener and you don't see the words, he basically calls Petr Yan a son of a bitch and vows to exact revenge. So like, in terms of the winning stakes here, obviously he's not going to get a title shot against Yan right away. But if Figgy were to kind of upset the apple cart here, right? If he were to upset the apple cart and win, what kind of prize would he be entitled to?
Maybe Sean O'Malley or Eamon Zahabi, right?
Like the winner of the White House fight?
Yeah, the winner of the White House fight. Because like, I mean, theoretically, if O'Malley wins, he's just going to wait for a title fight. I do. At some point, we're going to get Jan Dvalishvili 3. That still hasn't sort of happened, but I think Sean O'Malley is probably just going to sit and wait. But if Eamon Zahabi wins, I'm not entirely certain that they are like, we got to put Amin in a title fight, because that feels like the window where Umar Nurmagomedov comes in and is like, yep, my time now. Like nobody cares about Amin. So he can maybe get an Amin Zahabi fight if he beats this, if Amin Zahabi can get past Sean O'Malley. Like otherwise it's like maybe he can get Merab if the UFC decides Merab doesn't get the next title fight for whatever reasons. Like I'm really not sure where he goes, even with the win, because he's lost to a lot of these dudes already, and we're not just going to run that back. Even with the win, I think it probably the most likely scenario is like Peyton Talbot or who else is coming up at 135?
Dude, they might give him Hani Barcelos.
Hani, I mean, that would be at least age appropriate matchmaking, right?
Seriously.
And honestly, Hani just would deserve it, but like. That feels like Raul Rosas Jr. territory of like, oh, big name. We're trying to build this guy. Let's do it.
Long Island Luke is writing us. He thinks he might get David Martinez. That's a setup fight for David Martinez.
I'm just naming another up-and-comer.
Another up-and-comer.
I think he's fighting down regardless. He's 7 right now. Song is 5. Let's say he moves up to 5. I think he's fighting down regardless. So you're looking in that David Martinez, Peyton Talbot, Loke Dog, Raul Rosas, Hayoni Barcelos, and Fareed Basharat. One of those.
Yeah. Is there a way for Song Yadong here to get a win so impressive that you'd be willing to reconsider his upside?
I mean, I will mostly reconsider his upside if he shows like the constituent parts of the game that I would like to see. Like if he just jabs the shit out of Figgy and then lowers the boom, I'll be like, oh, man learned how to fight. That's fun. As opposed to just like, because if he comes out and they both just duck on right hands and he lands first and sparks Figgy, like that's great and a good win, but I didn't learn anything new. But if he does just pillar to post beat the soul out of Figueiredo, like even a diminished Figueiredo is a very good fighter. You know, Umar Nurmagomedov, who we all believed was a future champion and still may be, and maybe we've all kind of tempered some expectations on that over his past few fights, but he didn't just run roughshod over this version of Figgy Small. So if Song really whoops him pillar to post, that will be a statement sort of victory where I'm like, all right, we, you know, maybe I buried him too soon. Maybe he still got the juice.
We shall see. Any official prediction you'd like to make?
I'm going to pick Song Yadong to win this fight. I think I'm going to go decision because Figgy has just generally been tough, even later stage of his career, right? Like he's been only stopped a couple of times. Moreno did it. The injury against Sandhagen, right? Sandhagen's when he blew the knee out. And I don't think Song's just going to like blow him up with one right hand. So I'll pick Song by very wide decision as he just outworks him over 25 minutes.
I'm going to take Song by decision. Long Island, you got a beat on this one, particularly from the odds are pretty wide. Are you betting this one in any kind of interesting way?
So I will say my prediction is also Song by decision, but my bet, I took the under 4.5. It was plus 100 on DraftKings. I was like, you know what? 22.5 minutes for one of these guys to go down. I'll take the odds on that. So I'm hoping for a finish, but I do think it goes the distance.
All right, we shall see. Before we get to topic number 2 and the rest of the card, Jed, you're going to be in studio with us for the next pregame preview. Is that right?
That is right. Where, I mean, baby, it's White House. We got it. It'll be so fun.
Gotta do it. That'll be June 9th. Looking forward to that. And of course, as I'm mentioning now, we're going to get to the rest of the Macau card here in a minute, but it's a reminder. It's a good time to remind everyone. Morning Kombat is presented by who? By who? Cuervo. Our friends at Cuervo. Looking forward to having Jed in studio as well as Chuck June 9th for our UFC White House pregame preview. Should be a ton of fun. And you guys know how it goes. From face-off to final decision, Fight Night delivers the adrenaline and Cuervo the energy to match it. Whether you're hosting your crew at home or catching the action at a bar or in studio previewing the fights, Cuervo brings the good vibes that turns every round into a celebration. From margaritas to palomas, every main event simply tastes better with the world's most iconic tequila. So no matter who walks out with the belt, with Cuervo in hand, you're already celebrating like an undisputed champion. For every round, keep it fun, keep it Cuervo. Shout out to Cuervo, as always. Looking forward to that June 9th date. We're going to have a great, great time. All right, Topic number 2, if we can here, Jed. Let's talk about the rest of that UFC Macau card. Okay. First of all, let's actually talk about the card more generally. Give me some kind of grade, some kind of rating. Here you can see the graphic of it. Main card starts at 7 p.m. in the East. I think the prelims start at 3 or 4.
AM,
my math
not
is right.
PM.
4, right? 4 a.m. Yeah.
AM, not PM.
Yeah, AM. Yeah, I should clarify that. I mean, I'll let you have the floor here, Jed. Give me some kind of a grading or rating system for this thing, will you?
I like it. It's like a B. Again, there are a lot of quibbles, right? And I'm not telling you this is the best thing that's ever been put on paper,
I
but
hope not.
particularly compared to like the other. We all just have to accept that we live in a new world. This ain't 2016, baby. Like the roadshow cards, which used to be like, okay, the numbers in the road shows are good. The apex is going to be slop. That slop has creeped up, right? That it has subsumed some of the road shows. So like Perth was not a great card. This is, I think, a little bit better than Perth. The top 3 fights are like meaningful. They're sort of weird in general, as we'll get to the others here, but they're meaningful. There are a couple of highlights. Certainly on the early prelims, there are a couple of people I'm genuinely pretty interested to see. So you've got enough of a mix. Like if this were just a standard, it's also a little weird because straight up, I'm not going to watch the early prelims live. I will be waking up to watch the main card because I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. Long Island Luke, shout out to you. I assume you're doing a full card watch along because you're a sociopath.
Yes, sir.
We love you for that. Won't be me. But like I think this will be a fairly fun card. It's not going to blow your doors off, but I am broadly looking forward to it. I think it's fine.
I think there are some interesting matchups on it. I think I'm closer to a C. And I have kind of felt like the 3 tiers. So, I mean, the White House card is kind of its own little one-off thing. But if you count like numbered events on the road fight nights and then these Apex fights are the lowest tier. This to me feels like an Apex fight on the road. Like the kinds of bells and whistles that you would normally get for an on the road fight night, slightly tuned up in certain ways. I just don't think you're getting that here. This to me just feels like you could put this in the Apex and no one would. It would look normal in that regard. Okay.
I think this would look like a really good Apex card. I think
what makes it a really good Apex card? This to me feels like a very standard Apex card.
There are 3 fights between ranked fighters, maybe 4. I don't know. Is Angela Hill still ranked? I don't know. Whereas like the Apex is just like, that's just, look at last week's Apex card.
Okay, that was like literally one of the worst ones ever.
There are also 3 fights on this card where it's debutantes fighting each other.
Put that tweet up. Put that tweet up from Jedi Goodman. So look at this tweet here, Jed. Oldest fighter on the cards, Angela Hill at 41. Youngest is Ray Saruya at 23. By the way, his fight is good. Fighter with the most UFC bouts would be Angela Hill. It's going to be her 30th. Fighter with the most seniority. I know, it's crazy, right? Jake Matthews' first UFC bout was in 2014. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 debuting fighters. UFC vets, there's 2. Contender Series vets, there's 9 of them on this one. And then Road to UFC vets, which, by the way, is still a pretty good thing that they do. You've got 3 of them here. So it's not to say you don't have some decent names on there, but you got a lot of ones that aren't that great. And then matchups that to me are a little bit, the fights could be fun. I don't deny that. I don't deny that there's a capacity to deliver more than what the card kind of shows. And I recognize that. I want to be very clear, but there's not much on the menu side before ordering that gets me super excited. I think I would kind of put it that way.
I think that's very fair. There's nothing on this card to hang your hat on. It's like, I'm stoked. I think the main event is fine and could be fun, but we just talked about it. It's definitely a little weird. The other 3, the other 2 fights on the marquee are weird, but meaningful. And then the rest is some level of how deep are you to be interested in somebody like a Ray Saruya. It's not, like I said, not the best card. I think this is pretty much par for the course for a roadshow event at this stage of things.
All right. So in your co-main event, you've got Alonzo Menifield, who has won 2 of his last 3, although he lost his last one. He faces Mingyang Zhang. Is this, what do you want to call this? Is this a setup bout for the Chinese fighter who's still relatively young against, I think, a 38 or maybe 39-year-old Menafield, who is dangerous, Jed, but aging and still kind of reckless.
It's not entirely a setup fight because Menafield can win. So it is a little bit like, hey, this will get Zhang ranked again. He was ranked. He fell out after the loss to Johnny Walker. Menafield's currently number 15. It'll get him ranked. We can learn some things. Like Menafield is still can be a test. And like Zhang is very raw despite having like over 20 fights. It still kind of fights like a guy who just learned how to like do this. So it sort of just makes sense. It's a weird one because anytime Alonzo Menafield is fighting somebody at this stage, it's a weird one. He's a void of people caring about the fight. And frankly, there hasn't been a lot of reason to care about his fights lately. So in general, I think the idea is that Zhang is going to blow him up and okay, now Zhang's back on track, but it's not a total walkover for Zhang in the way that some of his early UFC bouts were.
I'm looking here at Menafield's numbers. He might try some takedowns. His accuracy is quite low. So I feel like this is likely to be a stand-up fight. If you look at the odds on this one, our friends at DraftKings have Zhang Mingyang at -258. They've got Menafield at +210. That feels right to me, and I'll tell you why. It's because I think Menafield, to your point, can win this one. But if he really starts to open up offensively, and if he's not mixing into takedowns, and these are, I'm putting in some conditions here, that feels like it's Zhang's fight to lose. If Menafield slows the pace down or mixes up his game, I think it becomes maybe a little bit more winnable, even though a big punch is his calling card. But that also just opens him up much more to the kind of thing that Zhang can do. That's my view.
Yeah, I think that's pretty right. It's just like Zhang's young, he hits real hard. I mean, we just saw Volkan Ozdemir just walk him down and just bomb on him. That being said, Zhang's not like real great with footwork, so maybe he doesn't have the same ease that Volkan had to walk him down. And I'm interested in this fight to see what Zhang looks like because we are desperate for anybody to be good at 205 at this stage of the proceedings. For a minute, he looked really fun, at least, because he was just nuking everybody he came in contact with. And then to lose to Johnny Walker it's not great. Like, let's just be clear about it, especially in a big fight that he was supposed to win. Was that because, he was main eventing in China and the nerves got to him? Johnny just caught him with a leg kick and that was it. I don't know. So I think this is mostly, like I said, not a setup to definitely get him over, but we'd rather see Zhang win, and we're going to learn at least a little bit more about him, because if Alonzo Menafield wins, he's not making a title run at this stage of the proceedings. Like he is just an entity who's like, yep, I can be a test for the top 15 for dudes.
I don't even know what to say about this next one. I mean, it probably won't last long. I think that's the thing I would say between these two heavyweights. Sergey Pavlovich taking on Taliesin Teixeira. Now, to Pavlovich's credit, he's coming in off back-to-back wins against Rosenstruck and Waldo Cortez Acosta, which is pretty good. Taliesin Teixeira, by challenge, is granted, he's about 8 years younger at 26 versus 34. He lost to Derek Lewis. He has a win over Justin. Look, these are his wins in the UFC. Justin Tafa and Tai Tuivasa.
That Tai Tuivasa fight was
one of the worst things I've ever seen.
So
Genuinely.
everybody says that. I had an incredible amount of fun because I could not stop laughing. Me and Mike Heck were watching it live, and it was so bad that we were just in stitches watching it. But it was a very poor fight.
But Pavlovich is going to blow his brains out here, right? I mean, that seems like, I don't even know what else to say about this fight.
So you're giving zero credence to Taliesin training with Alex Pereira and all of their sparring videos. You saw the sparring videos, right, Luke? Come on.
Yeah.
You don't think that he landed some punches on Poatan? Yeah? Come on.
Dude, if I spar with Alex enough, eventually I'll land one too. That doesn't mean shit,
I think the overwhelming likelihood is Pavlovich puts him down because Derek Lewis put him down. And this stage, Derek Lewis is just not there. I am marginally interested to see, like, Pavlovich hasn't looked like the marauder that he was when he came on, right? Like, a lot of that is he's just fought better dudes, like, and so it's going to be trickier, but he has a fairly limited game, right? He doesn't have like a ton of tools to deploy other than I hit real hard. Don't get punched by me. I don't think Taliesin can avoid getting punched by him, but if he can simply just find a way to be long and play like a Volkov role, maybe this gets awful heavyweighty instead of, at least it's a quick slaughtering heavyweighty.
Yeah,
I'm doing my best to sell this fight, Luke.
Pavlovich minus 625, Taliesin Teixeira plus 455.
Is it that big?
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah. I just, this is what I mean, dude. It's like the signal to noise ratio in UFC has become unbearable at certain
We get
points.
way more monster favorites than we used to.
Totally.
Remember when Dana White was
especially
like,
on these
boxing is
kinds of
bad?
cards.
Oh yeah. It's just, there's so many mega favorites these days. It takes some of the fun out of it.
We got an interesting matchup here between Kaya Sakura and Cameron Smotherman. Both, by the way, are entering on a 2-fight losing skid. Would you say if it's 3 strikes for the loser here, whoever that ends up being, it's 3 strikes and they're out?
Probably, maybe not, just because the primary determining factor in whether you are or not in the UFC is how much do you cost at this stage of things. And I'm not sure that either of these men are, pulling in a huge amount of money in their paychecks, but Kaya Sakura's underperformed, right? I mean, he's fought very good dudes, right? Tim Elliott, Alejandro Pantoja. You can forgive him for losing that. So maybe they'll give him one more because this would be the first like tough loss for him. If Smotherman loses, they should cut him. And that's not, he needs to be gone forever, but we've seen plenty of fighters have a rough run of things in the UFC. Okay, you just need to get a little bit more. You need to get a little bit more seasoning in a different setting than this. He's got some talent. He's still young enough. I think he's 28. If he loses, cut him, let him go do the regional thing for a year or two and come back, and maybe he can put together like a Yusuf Zalal second act sort of thing.
Jake Matthews is minus 425 against a plus 330 Carlston Harris. Harris, rangy, somewhat experienced, fought Rachmanov, for example, but not that great. Jake Matthews, I think still just 30 or 31. I'm not super high on him generally, Jed, but I feel like this is a very, very, I'm not going to say easy, but likely fight for him to win. This is what I mean about this matchup. It just like, it's not compelling to me stylistically or via the stakes, but
these are the ones that are weirder because at least in the Pavlovich Teixeira fight, it's like, all right, they're ranked dudes. If Pavlovich wins, I think that's 3 in a row for him. Now it's like, where does he go as far as the title picture? Because he obviously lost to Tom Aspinall, but things are moving quickly in that weight class right now. So that's at least interesting. Here's a big favorite and nothing happens. So like, this is a fight that I'm absolutely like, whatever. Sure.
Yeah. However, maybe the best one on the card, absent the main event, is Alex Perez, who really, I think, proved a lot of people wrong, including me, against Charles Johnson in his fight at UFC 324, stopping him in the first round, taking on Sumaderji, the Tibetan Eagle himself, who is riding a 3-fight win streak. Now, those names are Mitch Raposo, Kevin Borjas, and Jesus Aguilar. The guy who he lost to before all of that win streak was Charles Johnson, the guy who Perez just beat. Now, I don't want to play MMA math, but I wonder if you think that might be a kind of a relevant way in which to understand how they match up. I will point this out, odds-wise, Alex Perez minus 130, Sumaderji plus 110. So by far, in terms of the odds, the closest one on this card.
I didn't realize the odds were that close. I don't think that the like MMA mathing of it matters so much as I do think stylistically Alex Perez is favored here. He's had such a strange career. I want to actually pull that up right now because he came into the UFC and was like basically diet Brandon Royval, right? Like just all gas, zero breaks. Had some really good wins, fought for a belt.
He could wrestle better than Royval. I would say a little bit more like Ricky Simone or something like that.
Fair, but like just zero defense, all action, just fighting at a breakneck pace. and that worked for a long time. And then he lost a whole lot of fights in a very short period of time. It was like, okay, I guess he's just done. And then he kind of out of nowhere beats Charles Johnson, who has just apparently is the dude who will beat the best guys in the division and then lose to other dudes randomly. You know, it is flyweights awesome right now, but like Perez is still, his ceiling is much higher. And I think his particular brand of, you know, pedal to the floor action is really well served against Sumaderji, who's not very athletic, like fairly slow, and has kind of been feasting on some of the less talented guys in the division to get this win streak together. So really fun fight though. Basically every flyweight fight is like pretty fun. I'm very much looking forward to the main card opener.
And this one, like we talked about how Figueiredo going from flyweight to bantamweight, the scrambling has kind of been nullified. I feel like the scrambling in this one is going to be two cats in a bag.
Yeah.
Like that's, and part of the reason why you see the odds reflecting so close, because it really one or two mistakes could be dramatically costly for the other guy. I actually really like this particular fight.
It's a good one. I'm pretty pumped on it.
Long Island. What else are we missing on this card that is worth a fuck?
I mean, Angela Hill taking on the one atom weight champion, I believe. Maybe she was strawweight. I think it was atom weight, though. Xingyang Zhang. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of hype behind her. Angela Hill is actually the underdog. She is also 40 plus, so I get it.
Luis Urule fight is pretty good,
so,
by the way.
So we're clear. Zhang was the strawweight champ. Now it's one rule, so that's like 130 or whatever it is, like the no weight cutting thing. But like she's a 115er.
All right. Thank you. Louis Garul, Luke, you just mentioned, he just fought on that fucking Arnold Allen Melky Costa card 2 weeks ago. So, and he went the distance, 15 minutes. And now he's fighting Ray Saruya, a good wrestler. Like, I feel like he's cooked here. But that will be a fun fight. My boy Cody Haddon from Down Under taking on Arichi Lang. I mean, I'm hyped for that. Cody Haddon's back. Did beat Dan Argueta in his UFC debut. That's not a bad win at all. Featured prelim is two debutantes. There's a reason they're probably in the featured prelim, but truth be told, I don't know shit about them. And Loma Lukbunme is back. I mean, come on, man. I'll be up at 4 a.m. hyped for this shit, all right?
The one prospect I have my eye on that is, I think, making their debut is Rodrigo Vera out of Peru. He looks like he might be the goods. Came, I think, from LFA as well. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Kongji Zhu. Again, I'm sure I'm saying that all fucked up. That one seems like it could be fun, but that's a very, very kind of in the weeds fight that I don't expect most people to give a shit about. But Ray Saruya is, you know, he underperformed obviously in his loss to Josh Van, but so what? Otherwise, he's pretty fucking good. Yeah.
Also, he didn't even underperform in his loss. Like Josh Van is a very difficult man to take down and to hold down, and Ray Saruya is an accomplished wrestler who's learning how to fist fight, and so that ended up being a very bad stylistic matchup to lose to the champ. That's the thing. Like I said, a lot of these prelims, the Xingyang Zhang fight she's old, so I don't know how much of a run she can make. You know, she defended the one belt like 26 times or something, and strawweight is currently helmed by Mackenzie Dern. So like we could use somebody new who might be good. So I'm into that. I like Ray Saruya. Long Island, I didn't know you were a Cody Haddon guy. I very much am a Cody Haddon guy. I think that he has the goods. So
I'm any Aussie. I mean, the Aussie parlay.
Yeah, dude, literally, you could get an Aussie that was addicted to meth and overweight, and Long Island would be like, "This is my guy. This is my guy."
Who we talking about? Stuart Nick? No, I'm just kidding. I didn't want to name drop a random Aussie there and accuse them of doing meth. I don't know if he did, but Cody Haddon and Jake Matthews parlayed together. It is minus money. Otherwise, I'd probably take that.
But yeah, like I really like Cody Haddon as a prospect. So there are bits and pieces to be interested in the undercard. If you're the type of person who's watching this show, you really like MMA. And so there's enough on the undercard to wet your whistle.
All right, fair enough. Let's keep it moving here. Let's go to topic number 3. So UFC commentator Joe Rogan, I mean, the headlines lie about it. They're like, Joe Rogan expresses deep reservations about the UFC White House card. It's like, not really. The card and the event itself, I don't think he minds at all. It's just that it's outside, and he's got a lot of concerns about it. He's noted it could be bugs, rain, or even the heat affecting the fights, and this has really caused, to me, an interesting debate. So let's do this, Jed. Let's play Rogan's concerns, and then I want to ask you a couple of questions about it.
The White House thing is odd. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of fighting outside at all.
Well, there's problems with it.
And then
done it too many
it's
times.
June,
Yeah.
and it's DC, and we looked it up the last time, like last year, same day, it was 100 degrees.
Yeah. Oh
That's
Yeah.
hot as fuck.
And then you add the lights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the lights.
You add the lights.
Yeah,
that attracts bugs.
They were talking about maybe using fans. Is that enough?
No, it's not
You got
enough.
bug strips everywhere. What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to stop the bugs? I just don't think that you should compete in a world championship fight in a non-controlled environment.
Yeah.
I think it should be inside an air-conditioned arena. It should be a controlled environment, just like you don't ask someone to do any of that. You wouldn't ask them to play a world championship basketball game outside in the sun.
No.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Right? You play in a fucking air-conditioned arena, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I understand the whole thing, and
I get it
it's
too,
special.
Listen,
But it's gonna be a pain in the butt.
A fucking roof.
Yeah.
Build a roof. Like, you've got all the money in the world, right? You're doing this. You want to do this for
I don't
fucking
know. It's not
America?
my money.
It's 4,000 seats. You build a 4,000 seat arena.
Yeah.
How big is it? Get a fucking barn dominium. Put it in there.
Okay.
That's
As
the
somebody
first
who-
time I actually watched the clip.
Yeah. Okay.
God, Joe Rogan.
Let me set this up. As somebody who has lived here for a long time, let me just say this. His concerns about what could affect the fights, and they're mentioning the lights, and that would affect obviously any environment, but adding to extraordinary heat, gnats, mosquitoes, there could be inclement weather as well. We get a lot of June thunderstorms around here. Now, what I've seen people say, Jed, is they're like, well, every other sport is just played outside. Tennis is outside, soccer, American football, baseball. And obviously some of these games are domed or whatever, but, we all know that they're played outside largely, certainly through the collegiate as well as the high school level too. Who gives a shit, right, would be kind of the response. But yet, here's my question to you. And this is why I'm not like so much defending the idea, but I'm kind of curious to see what you have to say. If someone doesn't perform because it's too hot, I don't know that is a thing that the fans will like get on their side about. Maybe not even bugs either. But if inclement weather is like if there's a bad storm splashing into the octagon, or if it somehow affects the surface where like even the side of the cage, becomes super slick or something, like I guess I'm trying to point out, if it's some way that you can identify that the elements of weather and or just the ugliness of the outdoor conditions, when you can visibly see, again, I'm positing a scenario, if you can visibly see that they had an effect on the fight that you realize would never have otherwise happened in an indoor arena, and it affects somebody that the fighters really like. So let's say, for example, Poatan slips and turns his ankle because the whole shit is completely jacked up, right? Are the fans going to be irate about this? Like, what is going to be the response in the event that inclement weather or some other kind of condition actually has a visible material impact on the fights themselves?
So just so we're clear, the crux of your question is, are MMA fans going to be mad if one of their favorite fighters loses? Yes, is the answer.
Okay, but they would be mad no matter what. But if they're mad because of the goofiness of the weather, I wonder if that takes on a different tone.
I don't think it will take on maybe a perhaps more heated tone. And I want to be clear. I actually think Rogan has these are valid concerns. Perhaps some of his argumentation there is like, build an arena. Okay, at that point, why are you then doing a card at the White House? If you're building an arena, you just go to one of the arenas in DC. Those are accessible. Other sports are played outdoors. But I do think that there are some concerns. I mostly think that it won't matter. It probably just won't matter at all. And then even if it does, it is still a fair contest. These are concerns for both parties. And so the broader concern to me is like, what happens if this event does get delayed because there's a thunderstorm? Or like, what if we get, I know you know this, the old, the King in the Cage back in the day outdoors, where it just turned into like an actual slip and slide. It was one of the funniest fight cards of all time. Like, the UFC wouldn't go through with that. I wish they would. God, that would be just chef's kiss. But like, how does that happen? Because what are really the odds that Poatan is trying to punch Cyril Gane and a mosquito flies into his eyeball and then Gane counters him and he dies? Like, it's pretty low. And so, fans will find a reason to bitch about anything if it doesn't go the way they want. I mostly think this is in a direct way, a lot of noise without much without there being much substance behind it. But the thing that I'm more interested in, and I've thought about kind of an increasing amount as this has come up, is not the weather not the rain or the bugs. What does like a hot, humid fighter look like in some of these scenarios? Like Josh Hokett probably gets even more of an advantage over Derek Lewis, because I can't imagine Derek Lewis is going to have more than 3 minutes of cardio in 85-degree outdoor weather. Like that doesn't seem likely to me. But is that going to be substantive for any of the other matchups? Are people going to be preparing for it? It's sometimes we fight at elevation and fighters are like, yeah, I got here on Tuesday and suddenly my body shut down because it's Mexico City and I'm not used to this. Have they been prepping for it in that way? I'm more interested in that, which I don't think people will be able to like see an immediate effect, but it'll be afterwards, actually, I got really tired because it was hot and I wasn't used to fighting not in an air-conditioned indoor arena.
The heat is a big one for me. I just kind of feel like the bugs to me is more of a challenge for the audience.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't care about them.
And then the two big ones for me are heat and rain. I've called fights. I called the very first pro MMA event ever in DC. This was May of 2007. And they put that in the DC Armory, which is right next to where the RFK Stadium, which basically no longer exists, but like right next to that facility, there is a metro stop there. And that place has no AC. It has nothing. There's no way to control temperature in there.
So just a hot box.
It was a fucking hot box, bro. And they made me wear a black suit. It was so unbearable. I've never called it outside, but I remember our last June, like as Rogan was right, we had a fucking heat wave up in this bitch. I absolutely could see that affecting things. I really, really, really could. And people are dismissing this because, again, so many pro sports happen outside. But the reality is, in combat sports, any one little influence of what happens, and people get up in arms. The referee intervenes too early, too late. There's a cage malfunction. There is, something. There's some kind of way in which they're like, well, if it hadn't been for this, the whole thing would have changed. And I just kind of feel like people are shitting on Rogan because, again, so many sports are played outside. But those are sports with very, very different considerations about what it means to be outside. They wear shoes. They have gloves. There's like gloves that have stickiness to them. They're wearing hats. They have gear. There's like all kinds of ways to protect themselves from it in as much as one can, which you just simply don't have when you're barefoot and shirtless inside of a cage. I don't think it's the biggest thing in the world, but I feel like people are being a little too dismissive of Joe in a situation where, dude, if I have learned anything from decades of watching MMA, it's that, first of all, whenever you think you've seen it all, motherfucker, you ain't seen shit. And this is a highly unusual event with some fairly big stakes, not really in the fight itself, but how the event actually goes too. I don't know. I'm not saying it's the biggest risk in the world, Jed, but I feel like Rogan took a little bit of a beating on this one, a little unfairly, in my view.
Again, I think his concerns are valid. It is mainly the way he sort of got it across that came on that was easy to mock. But like the heat is the one to me. I don't think the rain matters because they're not going to fight in a wet cage, right? Like, so this won't be King of the Cage or whatever, or Rumble on the Rock, whichever one it was, maybe both. That would just delay the event. The weather is largely just going to make things worse for the people in attendance. But the heat, shit, this week, Yannick Sinner died in the French Open. He's the number one tennis player in the world. They play outside. And he was just like, it's really hot. I can't do this. And that's an athlete that is an athlete who competes outside and is the best in the world.
Yeah.
You can't expect that we go from fighting in a 60-degree cool arena, which is still much warmer once you're under the actual lights and in the middle of a fist fight too. Now, even if, the event starts at 8 p.m., you live there, you could tell me better what the ambient outdoor temps, at that are.
It's still going to be plus 90.
It's going to be warmer than in an air-conditioned arena and there's still going to be the lights. It will be warmer. There will be more humidity to deal with in that situation. That can substantively change it. I ultimately don't care because it affects both fighters. So it is fair. It is still an even contest. It's not one dude has to fight in these terms, but we're doing something different. Anytime you do something different, you are opening the door to an outcome outside your normal purview. And that's kind of the risk you take when you're going to do something like put on fights at the freaking White House.
It's good that a lot of these are striking based fights because, like, you know how, like, oh, when they started, it's the best time to get a takedown because they're dry and not slippery. They're going to be slippery from the word go.
You don't want just some sweaty dudes in there tackling each other.
They're going to be pouring sweat by the time they actually get to the octagon. Like, that shit is out the window. Like, they're absolutely. But if you look at most of the matchups,
Josh Hokitt can't take Derek Lewis down now because he's too sweaty.
No, I mean, he still would be able to like grab his legs and like yank it out from under him. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you look at the matchups, they tend, like, for example, Michael Chandler, his fight to me is I mean, I didn't like his chances that much against Hoofy anyway, although Hoofy's ground game was not that great. But in general, I think Hoofy should win. Hoofy being completely soaked in sweat before the fight even starting is absolutely going to help him here. There's no question in my mind about that. I know these guys all train in sweaty conditions. This is going to be different from the word go.
I have for weeks been rooting for the funniest outcomes to happen for every fight because I think it would just be way better if everything was a funny outcome and not like a good one or whatever. If all of these fights devolve into like we are all gassed immediately and just the sloppiest, garbagest fights on the White House lawn, I will have a lot of fun watching this.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Long Island, where are you on to what extent heat, bugs, weather having some kind of role in influencing outcomes?
I'm like, I mean, hopefully optimistic, I guess is the, like, I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't affect anything. I told you this yesterday, Luke. My buddy texted me and was like, hey, Joe Rogan is saying it's going to be too hot and buggy for the fighters at the White House. Is this true? And I was like, you get your news from Joe Rogan? But I was also like, wait, this is a thing? And I really hope it's not a thing, dude, because it's going to, Jed, you're hoping for like weird outcomes. I'm hoping we
100%.
get the purest form of what we should get if these fights were taking place in a controlled arena. Like, I'm going to be bummed. You just mentioned like it might not affect some fights. I'm thinking of like, I think it's the curtain jerker, Steve Garcia, Diego Lopez. Like, Diego Lopez gets the back in round one now. Maybe that's not lights out for Steve Garcia.
I feel like they're going to slug it out though.
Yeah, but I think Diego's smart enough to take that shit to the ground like he did with John Silva, you know? Like maybe
well,
where's your whimsy, Long Island? Like, I want more than anything in the world. I would legitimately like sacrifice a pinky if the gods could come down and be like, what's going to happen is a mosquito is going to fly into Ilia Topuria's eye. He's going to be ow, ow. Herb Dean's going to be like, he didn't punch you. You're a live fighter. And Gaethje just clobbers him. It would be the funniest thing in the world. I desperately hope it happens.
That would be funny. But I'm also imagining now like a grappling exchange. Think the grossest, sloppiest, sweatiest thing. So Hokitt on top of Derek Lewis. And now there's just Hokitt's covered in bugs. And then the bugs are crawling all over. And you're like, this poor guy. This is gross. What are we watching right now? You know, like that's
no. You're the difference between wisdom and genius right here. You're right. But think about this. Think about Derek Lewis in that hot environment. If he gets a win, that man's going to take his pants off at the White House.
You're right.
Can't think about what that means to our country.
While we're on the subject
as a nation,
while we're on the subject of Derek Lewis's balls, we didn't make one song Yadong joke. So like Yadong's looking huge, man. That's all I got to say.
Way to go, us.
I'm almost 50. All right.
You can't tell me you don't want Derek Lewis on the White House lawn to look at the president, take his pants off and say my balls is hot. That feels like the peak of America right there.
I got to be honest. I don't. I got to be honest. That's actually a thing I definitely don't want. I'm a little bit concerned about an MMA fighter saying or doing something that the rest of adversarial media is going to pick up on and then just hammer for eternity. You know, I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right. Let's do this. Let's talk about topic number 4. Now, we've talked about Colby Covington kind of retiring, but he since spoke to Ariel Helwani about his future. And in his future, or at least what he forecasted for it, Jed, he said he had met with Hunter Campbell. He had some nice things to say about that. But his goal is now to wrestle full time. We've got a Colby clip here talking about his retirement. We're not going to play the entire thing, but just for the sake of sort of setting the context, let's listen to some of this, and then we'll react.
Colby, we got news like a week or so ago that you had retired from the UFC and We're no longer in the promotion. Can you clear this up? Tell us your side of the story. What's going on here?
Yeah, so I had a good meeting with Hunter, and we just talked about the future, and we talked about everything that's been done and all the business we've done, and it was a productive meeting. And I just said that I'm very thankful for everything that the UFC has allowed me to be able to do in my life, and all the blessings that I've received from them. But this is the next step in my combat sports career is to join wrestling full time. My first true love and passion. I started wrestling when I was in diapers and I was a little kid, and it was family business, to go into the wrestling world. So now I can get back to, doing what I love the most, which is wrestling. This is my first love. So it's amazing, what Chad Bronstein's done with Real American Freestyle. And, this was just the proverbial red tape that needed to be done to be able to clear up the biggest and best matches in RAF. So there's no limitations to who I can wrestle. I want to wrestle everybody. I want to wrestle, Armin. I want to wrestle Cumshot. I want to wrestle Marty Usman. We have unfinished business. We need to finish this trilogy. I want to wrestle all these UFC guys, but I can't get too ahead of myself. This weekend I have a tough competitor in front of me with Chris Weidman. But it was just a formality, and Hunter blessed me, he gave me his blessing, and it's all good. It's all love. My thing though, is I didn't need one of these crazy retirement packages, Ariel. I didn't need, this is my life retirement package. Look at me and look what I did. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I didn't need that. It wasn't about that. I'm thankful to all the fans. I'm thankful to the great journalists like yourself. And, I'm just moving on to bigger and better things.
So did you call for the meeting with Hunter and ask him to essentially let you go, or did they come to you with an idea and you said, you know what, this is not what I want right now?
No. So me and Hunter, we had a great meeting.
Okay, you get the idea. He talks about the meeting with Hunter Campbell. What do you make of his explanation for his road ahead?
I think it makes sense, right? Like he had been sort of talking about this for a while. He is at the stage where, frankly, he extended his title window much longer than I thought he would. Not by fighting, but just kind of still getting those opportunities. Like him fighting Leon was like, I never thought that would happen. But he clearly still kind of just wanted to do that. He wasn't going to be like, he was never going to be Deiveson Figueiredo, right? Like that wasn't in the cards for how he wanted to have his career. And now this is available. And so it wouldn't shock me if, he was talking to the UFC and they were like, you are going to fight whoever, whatever, up in one of the Gabriel Bonfim or whatever. Like maybe he's like, I just don't want to do that. I'm not getting to a title fight. Like if you're not going to give me a Wonder Boy Thompson or something, screw it. And he has been super in on RAF. If you've heard him talk, he's spoken to Mike Heck a couple of times. Like he has said, and you can choose to believe this or not, I tend to think there's some level of truth to it, that if RAF existed when he was getting out of college, he would have just done that instead of gone into MMA. And he always felt like a guy who was more into the wrestling side of things. And so I think this just sort of makes sense. This is a good next career move for him. And some people can find their niche outside of the UFC. He had a lot of success, but like maybe he can just be the Mike Perry to BKFC to RAF. Like that can be Colby's role for the next couple of years.
I was going to ask, like, what can he do for RAF? There's a question of like, what was the value of the gimmick in MMA? I think people get the question kind of wrong. They're like, did it work? Well, it ultimately did not propel him to the heights he wanted. But there is a question like within the MMA fan base, did this work more than a more traditional path he would have taken? I think you might get a different answer there, but he's dropping that almost completely for RAF. So you're talking about like what he can be for RAF. Walk me through promotionally what he can do. Yes, former UFC fighter, former wrestler. I get it. I get it in that sense. But beyond that, is there anything else he can do for them?
He can be loud, and it won't be the same, right? Because I think it's even smart to drop the gimmick for RAF. I was always pretty clear. I thought the gimmick really worked for Colby Covington. He was a good fighter without any traction. He aligned himself to a base, right? And whether everybody acclimated to that, even in that base. That's up for debate. But he went from a guy who was good and people did not care about to he was relatively permanently in the headlines, got title shots when maybe he didn't deserve them, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that this works the same in RAF. It is just a less antagonistic sport than MMA is. Also, it is a more aligned politically sport, even than the UFC is overtly. Not that this is like a super political conversation, but I think you can get a little bit more traction by being staunchly this as opposed to I'm super MAGA for the company that's broadcast on Fox Nation and is real American beer, like that's a hat on a hat at that point. So what he can still be is a big name who will get out there. He can still talk a little bit. He's a little Tito-y in that he thinks he's a better talker than he is, but he can still, set up fights with an Arman Sarukian, with a Khamzat Chimaev, with a Kamaru Usman as he lined out, and bring a broader level of interest to the production that they are building.
Colby, in fact, told Ariel he's got an opponent wish list. Let's take a look.
You've got some big-time feuds there. Khamzat, you've got Arman, you've got Bo, you've got Kamaru. Maybe I'm missing one. You tell me, like, which one do you want the most, with one being the one that you want the most in that order?
So number one is a countryman of your country, Georges St. Pierre.
Oh, yes, I forgot about him.
Nothing's ever going to substitute him. He's the GOAT of the UFC, the GOAT of the welterweight division. So, of course, I want Georges St. Pierre. I want to see him back on that mat. I know the fans want to see him. We love him. I love him. Everybody respects him. So, would love to see GSP number one. Number two, probably Arman. He's talked a lot of smack and ran his mouth and said this and that. So, love to see Arman. Khamzat, number three. Actually, you know what? Number three would be Usman. This trilogy needs to happen. We have unfinished business from, our UFC days. And, I know I'm a better athlete than him. So I want to prove it. I want to prove the test of time that I'm a better athlete and a better winner. So Usman, number three, Khamzat, number four. And then number five, maybe that cross-eyed dildo. What's his name? That Palestinian fuck. I can't remember his name. Bilal Muhammad.
Okay.
He's so fucking mad at this. He had it. I can't remember his name. Bilal Muhammad. God damn it, dude.
How big can these be? And that was more of a wish list. Like, I don't think you're going to get St. Pierre, but you might get some of the other ones. What do you think?
You could maybe get St. Pierre. Like, I don't know why not. George is out here wrestling, competing. They pay him, he can come in and do. Like, I kind of think everything's on the table for RAF right now. They are new. They are exciting. There's not like a big overhead. It's not like an MMA fight where you need to train 8 weeks, like minimum, and you're going to get damaged. Like, it's 6 minutes or less. You can have some fun, get paid a little bit of money, and go home and not like be super injured. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to draw names in. Somebody like Kamaru maybe doesn't want to do this while he is potentially fighting somebody who that fight has still not been officially announced, but it seems like everybody knows what's happening there. But like, you get somebody like a George St. Pierre, maybe that happens. Khamzat's in roster now with RAF. I think that's certainly a future. Arman Sarukian, that's almost certainly going to happen. These aren't things that would do well on pay-per-view, but that's not RAF's game anyway. These are matchups that can absolutely headline RAF 13, 14, and draw some general casual interest to what's going on over there.
We have a graphic of the RAF 9 poster. This is the one where you can see Colby is going to be going up against Chris Weidman. You've also got, what's his face from Minnesota, Gable Steveson taking on Romanov. You've got Frankie Edgar versus, what's his face here, Merab Dvalishvili. I can't see the rest of them because it's so small.
Arman's front and center. Kyle Snyder's hanging out in the back there.
I was going to say co-main, I think, is Kyle Snyder versus some other probably good wrestler that I don't know. And then you named all the big names. Arman's fighting that Muggsy guy or something in the first fight.
Wrestling influencer.
Arman is wrestling Muggsy, who I'm not sure, I assume was on the poster, but I didn't see him.
In any event, you've been to one of these before, yes? You enjoyed them?
I've not been.
No.
But I've watched all of them except the very first one.
How is Fox Nation?
Fox Nation is what you would imagine it to be, Luke. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, you have to get a subscription. I don't think you would love the other programming that is available to watch on Fox Nation. But maybe you're super into the story of David. I don't know.
I was going to say, is it pornography? Because then there's a chance.
It's not. It is the story of David. So, however you feel about that, we've never gotten into that particular personal conversation, Luke.
Yeah, I don't have much use for the Abrahamic religions generally.
Yeah, I think a lot of the other stuff going there that is like, but it's just like an app. So you open it up and it's like, I don't have to choose this. I click and watch the RAF. I have been a very big proponent of them because I think they make a good product. I was wildly skeptical the first time I tuned in, and they run a tight ship. If you've never watched one, I've encouraged everybody. Maybe you won't like it. You might not like wrestling, and that's fair. I'm not trying to say you have to like wrestling, but if you're marginally interested in it, it is quick. They are 3 hours. The pacing is very good. There is minimum filler, and because the nature of their matchups, it's not like a lot of defensive battles. So you're getting a lot of high amplitude throws, a lot of points being scored. It's a pretty good time, man. Like I don't know how sustainable it is forever, but I have yet to tune in and be like, that sucked. What a waste of my time. I was like, yeah, it was pretty good.
All right. That brings us now to topic number 5, which is the combat sports world full of news and notes. So people may not realize this. Dmitry Bivol is back this weekend. Now, I talked to BC about this before today's show, and what he tells me is this is a long overdue mandatory against Michael Eifert that he's supposed to have. I asked him, I was like, yo, is Bivol just going to run this dude over? He was like, it would be the miracle of all miracles if he didn't. So not necessarily the most interesting thing, but Holly Holm is also back this weekend. Holm is an underdog. Now, her last fight against this same woman, Stephanie Hahn, it ended via technical decision based on the length of the bout. But there was a cut that was caused by a head clash. She is still the underdog. However, in this one, any intrigue in either of these, Bivol being back or the rematch for Holm?
I want to peel the curtain back for the viewers at home. In the prep doc, the question is phrased, which are you more interested in? And that was a real Sophie's choice because like Bivol is
wait, no. You mean like a reverse Sophie's choice, like take them both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. But amongst my friends, we ironically use Sophie's choice for bad things it is Bivol's going to kill whatever an Eifert is. I'm unclear, but I talked to some. I didn't look at tape for him, but I asked some boxing friends. They said the same thing. BC is. He's going to kill him. And it's like we understand that this has to happen. It's a mandatory or whatever. But why is this not better BF3? Really, why is this not Benavidez? Like these are the things that are there. So there's no interest. This is a spinning our wheels matchup. Like theoretically, Holm Han is more interesting because it's a little bit more competitive. But I went back and I watched some of the first one before the cut, and it wasn't that compelling. And Holm was losing. Holm is old. Like the most compelling thing about Holly Holm right now is Ronda Rousey delusionally saying that she would beat the shit out of Holly Holm if they fought today. So like neither of these are really drawing my interest. Amanda Serrano is also fighting on the home card. She's gonna beat the shit out of that German woman she's facing. So like these are fights. If you've got nothing else to do and you like boxing, I suppose you can tune into them.
All right, before we get to our Shavkat Rakhmonov discussion, which we're going to have here now, let's remind everyone, our friends at Cuervo sponsor the show. This is what we're mixing up, presented by Cuervo. For every round, keep it fun, keep it Cuervo. Let's talk about Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is a little bit back in the news. We don't have a lot to go on, but look at this footage here. This was recently released. This is Rakhmonov in Kazakhstan, but kind of back in the training room. We have not seen him since December of 2024 in a bout where he was already injured taking it. He still wins it over Ian Gary, who is, of course, as we now have learned, like very good defensively, very hard to look good against in many cases. You don't have much there to go on. Roll it one more time if you can here, Long Island. You can see him just moving around, kind of, I wouldn't say gingerly, but not crazy athletically. Jed, like what I don't even know how to ask this except to say, like, what is even possible with Rachmanov anymore?
This just makes me sad, man. Like, and you shouldn't take too much from this either way, right? Like, he is doing light sparring. He's had multiple knee surgeries. I assume this is just hey, we can't put the knee under a ton of duress, but we can still get out here. You can move around. You can get active. But it's just like, I thought this dude was the best welterweight on earth. And he might have been. Like, it's totally possible. I think he would have beaten Bilal Muhammad if they had fought and Bilal got injured and withdrew, and then he would have been champion at least. And now it has broken so bad for him that, like, it's just disappointing to watch. Like, at this stage of the proceedings, that's all he can offer because he can't go any harder, which means he's maybe coming back at the end of the year. And at that point, like, the landscape has shifted so dramatically in what will amount to 2 years since he last fought. He has to fight. He won't just come back to an immediate title fight, right? And then, like, is he just going to come back to he wins one and in? Will he even look the same? Not every fighter looks that great coming off multiple knee reconstructions. The obvious best case scenario is a Dominic Cruz, like, I'm going to just blow the doors off my return opponent. But, like, maybe he just comes back and he's lost all the juice. He can't move the same way. He doesn't have the confidence in his knee anymore he was never like a wildly explosive athlete. So there's some hope that, like, it won't majorly affect his style, but it's just like he missed probably the 2 most prime years of his athletic career to this. And that just sucks.
Can he still be champion?
Yeah, I think he can still be champion. I think the idea of, like, he's going to be champion, he's going to have a sustained reign, that's probably out the window, but, like, he can still get to the belt, because if he is still the good version of himself, like, if he's not diminished from this, I'd still pick him over everybody, right? Like, I wouldn't bet my life or my house on it, but he can take Carlos Prates down. So I think he can win that. Michael Morales might be incredible, but we still haven't, like, I just have questions about Michael Morales, not to mention, is he going to stay at welterweight long? Because apparently he cuts from, like, 280 pounds or some absolutely obscene number. So, like, can he continue to do this over time? We saw him beat Ian Machado Gary, and I know that, that was a very competitive fight, but I still think I would pick him over Gary, like, in the future, because Gary doesn't have sort of the dynamic offense to be a threat to Shavkat in the way that I think Shavkat can be a threat to him. I don't think Islam's going to hang around that much longer anyway. So, like, if he's not diminished, I still like his chances to get the belt, but I don't think we're in the world where he holds it forever anymore.
If you look at the rankings here, you've got, let's see, like, 8 is Usman. I would pick, I mean, if Shavkat is healthy and fully functional, I would pick him in that regard. Buckley at 9, same thing. Edwards at 7, Brady at 6, Muhammad at 5. JDM, again, if we're talking about a fully ready to go Shavkat, I'd probably pick him over JDM, but that's where the rubber meets the road, because then 3 is Morales, and that's much harder for me to say at this point. I really don't know.
It's very tough. That one's the trickiest one to feel confident about it all.
For sure. He already beat Ian Gary at 1, so you could say, well, what about that? And then Prates at 2, I agree. How do you think he, again, like, if he can recover, well, how do you think he matches up against Islam?
Like, that's why I'm so sad, because that was the fight I wanted. I desperately wanted, all right, let's do Islam versus Shavkat for Islam's first title defense. I will probably just pick Islam Makhachev to beat everybody until he loses, because he's the best fighter in the world, probably the best fighter of his generation, and extremely talented. But Shavkat, I just think, can be a little bit more individually dangerous, like in moments on the feet, right? Like, Islam is a very good striker. I still think he is underrated as a striker, but I think Shavkat is a little bit more one hitter. Oh, I can change the tide of this fight with a punch, especially up at welterweight, than Islam is. Not as defensively sound. I would love to see them fight in the clinch just to see how that shakes out. Can Islam consistently get takedowns and take him, smother Shavkat that way? Maybe it gets trickier. I think that's just like a really competitive fight that I would favor Islam in, basically on the back of defense, but like that would be an awesome fight. And I don't think we're ever going to see it. And that really bums me out.
Yeah, I'm going to remain as optimistic as I possibly can. I agree with you. I still think a championship, I won't say run. Well, I mean, I think he could be champion. I do believe that. But like, I just don't think you can lose this amount of time. And, you could just get that back. No, you can't. No, you can't. Both in terms of development, wins, money, the whole 9 yards. Like, it's lost. You know, if it was like 6 months to a year, you can get some of that back. But when you get 2 years or 2 years plus, you have, again, it's not to say you couldn't salvage some things, but you've also irreparably damaged your career at that point. Like there's no, we can just collect everything that was lost in that process. No, you can't.
He'll be 32 when he comes back, which is like generally the end of your athletic peak, which means he lost 30-31 to injury. Like he lost the two, like the years where you were at the apex of your athleticism, you haven't fallen off yet, and you are at the apex of your skills. It is a very, very tough thing for him because like I said, I thought he was the best welterweight in the world. Still might be, maybe still gets there. I hope he does. But like, then we're also in the like, knock on wood. God, we don't. One more. What if it happens again?
Right.
Knees can break for any number of reasons. One more happens, and it's just like, okay, you are just Dominic Cruz. You are the next iteration of Dominic Cruz, and that's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Dominic Cruz had the cadaver tissue put into his knee as a way to facilitate healing, and it didn't take.
Yeah,
and the whole thing had to be redone. It was a fucking nightmare. But I will say this: I am keenly awaiting his return to the octagon. So this is what we're mixing up, presented by Cuervo. For every round, keep it fun, keep it Cuervo. All right, very good. Let's now move on. How about this? Mario Lopez, can you believe it, earns his BJJ brown belt. Now, he won a Masters division at one of the IBJJF North American Championships. But I got to say, man, of all the people out there trying to do jiu-jitsu as a celebrity the right way, people don't remember this. Ricky Rocket from, what band was he in? Was it Poison or Wasp? Or
clue what that is.
You never heard of Ricky Rocket?
No, I'm not old and washed.
You motherfucker! You motherfucker! First of all, you're not young.
Poison, LT, Poison.
Oh, Poison. Yeah. It's like, first of all, you're not young, and second of all these fuckheads who do this, it's like, bro, I hope you understand. This is about to happen to you too. Like, you're not getting out of this. This is gonna kick your ass too.
I'm gonna live forever, Luke. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're gonna live forever, decrepit like me. But I gotta say, of all the people who have tried to do jiu-jitsu as a celebrity, I cannot think of somebody who did it more like slowly and more authentically than Mario Lopez. Because you remember, it's like, Ashton Kutcher got his whatever belt, and then it's like, well, where does he train? It's like, he just trains in private with Jean-Jacques Machado. It's like, that's not real. Look at this pic. By the way, the guy to the right of to Mario Lopez's right, to our left, there with the blue gi and the white kind of rash guard, that's Brendan Lynch. He used to work on this show. We know him. Here is Mario Lopez. Too. Huh?
He's a black belt too, Lynch.
He's a black belt too. Mario Lopez is out there. I got to say, I got respect for Mario Lopez, man. Like, he's out there trying to do it the right way, slowly, piece by piece. And he's putting together a pretty respectable run.
Yeah, man. I had no idea this happened until I saw it in the rundown. And like, that's pretty cool. Because especially like doing competition circuit too, right? Like, I think Tom Hardy's been done like Nagas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like that sort of is a different level. Like, Ed O'Neill is famously a black belt, and seemed like everybody I'd talked to about it saying that's like, it took him a decade and he's like very passionate about it. But like, yeah, there is a difference between Mark Zuckerberg is doing this for right now because he is trying to rebrand himself as cool instead of as Mark Zuckerberg. And like, Mario Lopez isn't doing this for acclaim. Like, he clearly just enjoys doing it. It's sick that AC Slater has a BJJ brown belt. That's pretty fun.
I appreciate his efforts. All right. Is it the worst idea or the second worst idea ever that Glover Teixeira is going to box Shogun CTE Hua? They're going to box each other. Again, not MMA fight, box. in August. Now, I'm told that there are going to be some amended rules, 8 rounds, I think, 2 minutes each. So it's a little more like almost like women's rules. But, while I'm not so worried for Glover, dude, Shogun Rua has taken what can only be described as like 7 or 8 careers worth of fucking brain damage. They'll license anybody in Brazil. It blows my fucking mind that this is happening.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know. Like the question you posed is, what would be the worst idea? If this would be the second worst idea, is the worst idea letting Brian Campbell talk about straw weights? Like I don't know what the worst idea.
Oh yeah,
I was straight up playing for that soundbite. It's pretty bad. I don't know if this is as bad as Chuck Tito 3. That was an abomination. But like this is Vitor Holyfield. That was pretty bad. I mean, the well has no bottom, Luke, in combat sports. You know this. We can always find something much worse. I watched Brand Risk 14 this past Saturday, Luke. Everything that happened there was probably a worse idea than this, but this is a very, very poor one.
Did you shower afterwards?
I needed a lot after that. It was I hope you didn't watch it because it I like Bozo MMA, like Dogfight Wild also had an event and that was super fun. I did not feel the same way about Brand Risk 14. It wasn't all bad, but it was a tough hang.
Full Metal Dojo does the fight circus every year, and that feels to me like something goofy enough to be enjoyable. But when Sean Strickland is dropping the N-word or lamenting the state of Jewish people in the country, it's just like, who the fuck is? I mean, I realize that there is an audience for it, but the fact that there is means like it's not me. That's what I know.
He was on one. Most of the fights are bad. Johnny Manziel beating up Bob Minery was the most predictable and unnecessary.
Who is Bob Minery? Who is this fucking guy?
He's like an influencer. I didn't know about him until this. He's like, a comedian, podcaster, influencer thing. Just a dude versus a guy who was a first round draft pick in the NFL. That was at least funny because for whatever reason, Johnny Manziel thought he was a kicker. Like he's like, kicks are going to be a big part of my game. And he could not get his leg past parallel. So it just looked really, really awful. But again, this is a first round NFL draft pick against some dude. The
last time they had a boxing match with MMA fighters in Brazil, it was Vanderlei who got laid out by a guy with a tuxedo that looked like he was a waiter.
Dude, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like in Brazil, this shit is wildly different, bro. They'll just let anything happen. I'm like, honestly, I'm kind of worried for Shogun, man. If I was his friends and family, I'd be like, you need to.
Old people fighting, right? Like of commensurate levels of old, but we shouldn't be doing this.
No,
it's bad.
It's very bad. Last but not least, we've got this clip of TJ Dillashaw providing what can only be described as every excuse in the book for Khamzat Chimaev's, who made weight, but like what the weight cut did to him. I want to roll this clip and then I want to get you to react.
But to know what he actually went through, like I just had a hour-long conversation the other night with Calvita because like from the outside looking in, without even me talking to Sam, I didn't even want to reach out to him yet because he was getting so much flack for all this bullshit. But I knew looking from the outside in that like he wasn't eating the foods, like they were posting stuff and his nutritionist was posting stuff. I was like, oh, Sam wouldn't have him eating that. And then I seen him sitting in the bathtub to cut weight. It's like, Sam wouldn't have him be sitting in the bathtub to cut weight. He's like, Sam's not doing his weight cut, and then to hear the story of what actually was happening to him and like him like puking up green vial and just all the like the crazy shit. Like he should not have made it to the fight. And to see how he performed still, like round 5, round 4, like he still had the better fight in cardio than in Strickland. And Strickland's supposed to be a cardio guy. And Khamzat's the one going forward, landing the bigger shots, right? So Sean won a fight going backwards, throwing a jab. I don't see it that way, right? But it makes me realize how tough Khamzat is to do as well as he did on almost dying before getting on that scale. Like I'm saying, almost dying. Like scary stories.
Green vial? Really?
Never heard of anything like this before. Like the stories that I heard is crazy.
What else? Can you share any more?
I don't want to dive into it too much. It's just, like I want to let you know that like people need to understand what he pushed through to fight is impressive. And to do it with, again, the guy's got half a thyroid. Like, really, like, do your research and understand what that does to your metabolism. Like, but, you know, and that's why weight cut's hard for him. And he just needs to do it the right way. And I think he needs to get his 85-pound title back before going back up, or even deciding to go 205s. Because, like, dude, he was only 16 pounds over showing up to fight week. That is easy. I show up 15 pounds above 135s on fight week when they do your weight check. But it's about the water displacement. And I know when I'm 15 pounds over, and on Sunday for that going into that week, I'm 15 pounds over and I'm hydrated, drinking the water I'm supposed to drink, I made weight. It's easy after that. Now it's just water displacement. And unfortunately, they didn't do that.
So he cut too much weight. He didn't have to cut enough weight. He tried to cut weight the wrong way, and it all
Judges got it wrong.
Like, dude, what the fuck, man? What are we even supposed to say about the amount of excuses that are being trotted out for? Like, clearly to me, right, Jed? Like, no one's blind. The fact that he couldn't take Sean down in the second round and just got fatigued and laid there. Yes, something was clearly wrong. I get that. Manage your affairs better. Like, what do you want me to say about? I don't understand what any of this is supposed to mean.
I genuinely think what this is supposed to mean is, Chael Sonnen did a video about this yesterday, and I think he nailed it. We're like, what this is supposed to mean is we lost the fight, and theoretically there's a man in front of us, and we're trying to throw up any sort of excuses to get an immediate rematch. Like, right after the fight, there were reports out that Khamzat told Dana, hey, I'm going up to 205. And now he has been lobbying pretty aggressively for an immediate rematch. And, you know, he might get it just by being the most famous person or whatever. Nobody cares about Imavov, et cetera, et cetera. But it's, if you can add in, well, actually, he almost died. And so, like, really, Sean barely even won. And did he win? The judges kind of got it wrong in the first place. And, oh, by the way, this other tragedy befell him. So you kind of just have to give him another title fight. That sort of feels like what this is like, yep, we lost, but we want to do it again. And so we're trying to throw anything we can against the wall that will generate interest in this rematch, especially because they, you know, let the cat out of the bag that they don't actually hate each other during the fight. And so he can't even be like, it's not like Chimaev can go and be like, actually, F Sean Strickland, he's a piece of shit, because they'll be like, you're just lying like you did last time. So they're just trying to, you know, make everybody be like, really, he didn't lose. He lost to the gods, not Sean Strickland. And if the gods are in his favor, then he'll win a rematch. We should do this rematch. I hate this shit. I've hated this shit forever. Like, just, if you walk in and fight, you agree to fight however you are. And, you know, Sean Strickland had a torn shoulder or whatever, like, going into that fight. Everybody fights injured. You fought, you lost. Wear it, move on.
Can't add much to that. That is our top 5 here for the show. So let's move on to the next segment where we play a little thing called Rank That Card.
Rank that card! It sucks.
All right, boys, you already know how we play this. I'm going to give you 3 fighters. You're going to rank them. LT, you are up first. Which fighter's name are you most likely to forget after Saturday? Jose Enrique, Luis Diaz, or Cameron Smotherman?
Well, Luis Diaz is similar to Lucho, who plays for the Colombian national team, so probably not that one. Cameron Smotherman's name I love because I've wanted to smother another man with a pillow and kill him several times, including Brian Campbell. Probably Jose Henrique. That seems like one that might go in one ear and out the other. I'll put that one first.
See, former UFC vet Luis Henrique. I feel like between those two names, I'm going to remember Cameron Smotherman. I really just put in there because he's probably going to lose to Kaya Sakura and get cut, and then we may never see him again. Jed, are you changing the order at all?
I would say Luis Diaz, because that feels even more generic. Like,
it is pretty generic.
Genuinely, both Jose Enrique and Luis Diaz are like creative fighters on EA UFC 7 or whatever. Like, you might fight those dudes there. So Cameron Smotherman, that has to be last because that name is very unique.
Yeah, that's true. But in 2 years, it'll be a prop quiz question and you'll get it wrong. So, you know, there you go. Jed, which Chinese fighter is most likely to headline a UFC event one day? Ray Saruya, Jingyang Zhang, or Suma Derji?
Ray Saruya, because I think he is the highest upside here. I mean, Zhang is the best fighter here, but women don't get to headline events. What are you talking about?
Of course they do. What are you talking about? Apex card? They'll definitely get to.
They don't get to headline events. That's
Her opponent,
when was the
Angela
last
Hill, has
time?
headlined multiple events. I mean,
Yeah,
why can't
they
she?
they might have once
Yes.
upon a time.
Michelle
they might have done
Waterson,
that.
she fought in a main event for sure. Hill Waterson, I want to say.
When was the last time a women's fight headlined an event? Because the last one I can think of was the Hebos thing 2 at the start of last year.
I was gonna say, has there been one this year? I don't
I
think.
say
there's
I
been
don't
one
think
this year.
there's been one since the Amanda Hebos
I don't know.
rematch.
Maybe
to
there
start
has, guys.
2025. So I think Zhang is the best fighter, but they don't get to do that. So no. So I guess I'll go Saruya, Sumaderji, Zhang.
Okay, LT.
Same order for me. Saruya is the one that's got the highest up. Well, Zhang might have the highest upside, but given some of the limitations, I'm going to say Saruya, Zhang, Sumader in order.
I'm looking this up right now to find the last time a women's fight headlined a UFC event.
You might be
And I'm
right with
still scrolling
with that January 2025 Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Hebos 2.
That is the last one I see is January 11th,
It's been a while.
2025.
18 months, guys. It's nothing crazy, you know. All right.
Oh,
LT.
they were supposed to have one.
Blanchfield Barber.
Yeah, Blanchfield Barber was
Yeah.
supposed to.
Someone wrote that in the
Didn't get
comments,
that.
but I wasn't going to bring it up because it didn't technically happen.
Didn't happen. It was
yeah.
supposed to at least,
True.
but yeah.
LT, which fight is BC most likely to text you about? Luke Boonmay versus Amarim, Hill versus Zhang, or Yadong versus Figueiredo?
He is most likely to use the words Yadong in discussion of the Hill Zhang.
He like the sauce, yeah.
All right,
Right.
that's fair enough.
By the way, my daughter likes some new Thai song, right? And it's a song for kids. Like if you hear it, or you know, it's like Poppy. It's a kid's song, and but it's from Thailand. It's called Dong, Dong.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, I don't think this is a song. I don't think this should be a song for children, but we're just putting that to the side.
Not built for the U.S. airwaves.
Yeah, I don't think this is the right one. But in any event, Hill Zhang, Luke Bumi Amorim, and then Yadong Figueiredo, a dead fucking last.
All right. I think you should make a remix to Dong and make it Donk. You know, put a little
nice
MK flair on it.
I think I should just smoke marijuana and
that works too.
Move to a desert island.
Jed, you changing that order at all?
No, I think Luke had the correct order on this one.
All right, that's fair. Jed, which underdog, excuse me, has the best chance of winning? Angela Hill, Carlston Harris, or Alonzo Menefield?
Ooh.
I'm going to lead with Carlston Harris just because Jake Matthews has burnt me many times before. And
he just lost to Neil Magny.
But remember that fight? He beat Neil Magny, then they restarted it and he lost Neil Magny. It was bullshit.
Jake Matthews finds a way to lose fights he has no business losing. So I'm going to say Carlston Harris has the best chance, not because of him, but because of Jake Matthews.
Okay.
I'll then go Alonzo Menefield just because when we talked about that fight, Zhang is still unproven. Menefield probably good enough to maybe take advantage. We'll see. And then Zhang is quite good. So I think the Angela Hill fight makes total sense for her debut. She fights Hill. She gets a win. She immediately fights somebody in the top 5, and she's fighting for the strawweight title by next year. I think that totally tracks. But Angie's her 30th fight. Shout out to her. She's old, past it. She'll be last.
It's interesting you win in reverse odds order, but I appreciate that. LT, you changing that order? What are you going with?
I'm going to say Menefield, Hill, Harris. I think Harris is last for me because, he's not very good.
I agree with Jed's reasoning for not trusting Jake Matthews, but I agree with LT's order. I think that's the correct order.
On paper, LT's order is correct, but that's spoken like a man who's never bet money on Jake Matthews. And as a man who has, he will let you down every fucking time.
This is true. I've never bet on Jake Matthews. This is true.
DeAndre Fialho fight? Come on, Jed.
Look,
Yeah,
that was when
future.
That was when I was like, oh, he might be the truth.
I'm still riding that high. I'm like, Jake Matthews will challenge for a title.
He's consistently just let me down.
All right, that's fair. LT, which fighter's most likely to hire Jed as their lawyer? Deiveson Figueiredo, Sergey Pavlovich, or Cody Haddon?
It's a great question.
How'd you pull these three?
I knew you were going to ask this. I went on vibes for the first two, Figgy and Pavlovich, because I was like, I don't know, I could just see that. And then Cody Haddon, I went because he's Australian, and you got to just poke fun at that. So
I'm gonna go Pavlovich because he just seems like he'd be wacky and you'd make a wacky decision.
He'd get into some like tax trouble and be like, I
Yeah.
didn't know I had to pay taxes, and then Jed,
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Then
like
Cody
10
as just like a normal English speaker, and then Figueiredo dead last because he probably, Figueiredo would try to do the law himself. He makes sushi, he does women's hair. He would just do the law himself.
I was gonna say, I don't think Figueiredo would hire a lawyer. I think he would solve that problem. Would be solved some other way.
No, I think Figgy's like running an underground like hairstyling, business, and they catch him, and then he's like, "Shit, I need a lawyer. I got to go legit with this side hustle." So.
No, I think he just he strikes me as a man who would just run. He would flee the country and go elsewhere.
Or that. Jed, which fighter's name is LT most likely to overpronounce? Rodrigo Vera, Luis Gurul, or Orichi?
It's Gurule, by the way.
I think we just got our answer. I think we just got our answer.
But that's how you say it. It's not Luis Gurul.
So I was gonna go this way anyway, but Luke really did a show and tell segment here. So Gurule will be our first one. And then Rodrigo Vera versus Richie Lang, just because it's Spanish, and that's more where Luke would do that as opposed to Richie Lang.
That's where my head was, but I was like, he's not going to overpronounce that. And then
it's also like hard to over.
No, we were doing this segment, and he did. Luke, say that guy's name right now.
Motherfucker, you don't get to pronounce the guy's name wrong, and then when I say it mostly correct,
not Gurul.
tell me I'm overpronouncing.
Pronounce the
That's
first
not how
guy's
that
name.
works.
Pronounce the first guy's name.
Rodrigo Vera.
Yeah, see, Rodrigo Vera. It was very.
He just puts the sauce on it.
That's the overpronounce.
I don't even put enough sauce on that. It's supposed to be Rodrigo Vera.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, LT. I'm just saying it's a thing. Okay. Arichi. Can you say the last one?
Aor Key Lang.
Wow, you went Valdosta roots there, huh? He took it back to the big chicken for that.
That was Lowndes County, bitch. Don't forget about it.
That was good. All right, LT, who's the most entertaining fighter on the card? Ming Yang Zhang, Deiveson Figueiredo, or Kai Asakura?
Not a bad question. Are we asking presently or like whose resume?
No, you got to go resume because Kai presently hasn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Figueiredo because Kai has done some cool shit for sure. But Figueiredo has had some legendary battles. So I'm going to go with him. Asakura second. And then Ming Yang is fun. He's fun, but he ain't like the other two.
Pretty sure all of his wins by finish, Ming Yang. But I
know. But like he's fighting,
Yeah. Davison's too interesting to not also be the most entertaining, like the sushi thing, all that, Jed, you changing that at all?
He nailed it.
All right.
Figgy's just cool. He saved flyweight because he was so cool.
Yeah. Jed, which fighter's stock will drop the most with a loss on Saturday? Sergey Pavlovich, Kai Asakura, or Song Yadong?
Oh, this is actually a really good question. I go Asakura. I'm not entirely sure it's right, but I will go Asakura just because 0-3 in the UFC. Smotherman, the other two losses are explicable. Smotherman hasn't won a fight. That's probably
I think he won one, but
yeah, okay, fair. But he's lost 2 or 3 in a row. That's people will just completely forget about Kai Asakura, at least North American fans. If he gets cut, goes back, to Japan, he'll do great. But I'll say Kai Asakura. Pavlovich is definitely number 2 there. But he might be number 1 just because nobody believes in Taliesin Teixeira. So if he loses to him, that might be tough. And then bringing up the rear is Song Yadong. People love Figgy. He's losing to Figgy. It will be bad, but it'll be fine.
All right. LT, you changing that?
I'm going to go Pavlovich as being the most. I'll go Song second because he's a pretty wide favorite. This would be kind of bad. Asakura would be bad, but he hasn't really done anything in UFC to make fans be like, oh, we got to rate this fucker highly. Although, if you're familiar with his Japanese career, then it might change to a degree. But I think for the average UFC fan, I'd put Asakura last.
See, I'm going Asakura first because I feel like it's the fall from grace. It's the immediate title shot in his debut to, let's give him, lack of a better term, gatekeeper Tim Elliott to, let's give him some guy with an under 500 UFC record. You know, like.
Even as you did the hand signals there, like the big drops were before this, and now it's like, how high up can he, like, how high up is he to fall? You know, he went from the penthouse. He's already on like the third floor. It's not that big a drop.
Yeah. But I feel like the argument against Pavlovich is like, you lose to Taliesin Teixeira. Don't get me wrong, it's a bad loss, but like they're both probably, I'm going off Taliesin, probably ranked right now. So like,
well, they are, but
yeah,
like
so
it's
Sergey
still,
hangs around the top 15. You 2 wins, you get a title shot, you're good.
but it's still Taliesin. You're just like, yeah,
it's a bad loss.
Yeah.
LT, which nickname would you choose for Jed to adopt? The babyface killer, the Tibetan eagle, or Grim?
I mean, does this motherfucker look baby-faced or like a killer to you? He looks like a serial masturbator, maybe, but not a killer.
Define serial. What constitutes serial?
How many times have you been caught in a Belk or a J.C. Penney fondling yourself? That's really the question here.
What was the first store?
Belk. You don't know what a Belk?
I've never think that's a Southern thing.
Yeah,
that's a Southern thing for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Belk,
It's
Belk is
Macy's.
yeah.
It's the
Belk
same
was like
shit.
it's still around, but Belk is like a Sears kind of.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sears. Yeah. All right.
It's a big box store like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Grim. I mean, look at him, Grim for sure.
Grim
And
I
then
think
after
that
that,
was very Tibetan eagle-ish, quite frankly.
I mean, the fact if it was just the Eagle, I might go Eagle second, but the fact they got Tibetan in there just makes no sense.
That's
so
why
I'm
it's
gonna
funny,
go
though.
baby-faced killer.
All right.
I know. I want some guy to be like, "Where are you from?" It's like, "Oh, I'm from Vancouver, Canada." What's your name? He's like, the down under strangler. It's like, why are you called that? Oh, I just want it to be,
because he's the guy who invented the twist in the dick, the down under strangler.
Nice.
Jed, for you, which nickname would you choose for LT to adopt? El Gato Loco, the Mongolian Murderer. Or
yeah, but if I was
Overkill?
that one, I'd be the guy murdering
Exactly.
Mongolians.
Exactly. That's
So we're clear.
that's
My
interesting.
choice is the Mongolian murderer because it just implies that he murders Mongolians.
Not Overkill. I kind of like Overkill. Luke Overkill Thomas. Come on.
No, I think Overkill is probably the most appropriate. But the
Yeah.
question is, what would I choose? Like Overkill. I mean, that's half of Luke's whole brand, basically.
Yeah.
So that would be fine. But the Mongolian murderer is just like
Too good.
it's incredible. Luke Thomas, the bane of Attila the Hun's existence.
We were not giving enough love to El Gato Loco, which is also funny because like Luke having a Spanish nickname is just funny to me. Yeah.
I only if he has to call himself that, so then he can put that sauce on El Gato Loco or however the hell he would say it. I don't have that same. I don't have the same chutzpah that he does when he's putting the sauce on it.
LT, which name would you choose if you had to pick one of these three?
Overkill.
Overkill? I like
Overkill. And then Gato Loco second. And then, dude, I wouldn't touch Mongolian murder. I don't want that kind of smoke.
And you can only fight Mongolian fighters. All right, guys, that was Rank That Card. Hope you enjoyed it.
Awesome. All right, before we wrap things up here, we have to do what you guys know we have to do, which is look at your artwork. It's time for fan subs.
You've got mail.
Viewers.
Winner, as you know, each month gets a free signed poster. So keep sending those morningkombat@gmail.com to get these in. All right. We start with Arnold. He says, "Hi, Big White Luke, Long Island Luke, and the boys. On Saturday, I attended my first MMA event in person for PFL Brussels. Although I arrived at the middle of the card, it started by the weird forfeit of Schilling, but otherwise delivered good fights. Do you remember when and where you first saw an MMA fight in person rather than watching a replay live?" Look at this gentleman right here. What do you think, Jed? What was the first time you saw an MMA fight in person?
I can actually tell you the event. I just have to look it up because I don't remember the number of it off the top of my head. The first MMA event I ever went to in person was in Las Vegas at the Hard Rock, whatever they call that place. I don't remember.
It's now the Virgin.
Yeah, but at the time it was the whatever. And I watched Brian Bowles, who I knew very loosely from training in Athens, Georgia at the time. knock out Miguel Torres and become the WC champion of the world at WC 42. I was in Las Vegas that weekend for my 21st birthday. And I was like, they were holding a WC event. And I trained a little bit with Brian Bowles, not like a lot, but I'd seen him around the gym. I'd sparred with him once. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll go watch these fights in person. And I put like $200 on him for shits and giggles. And then he knocked out Miguel Torres and it was cool as hell.
Fair enough. I don't remember the name of the event because it was so long ago, but probably, when was this? 2004, 2005. So like a buddy of mine fought in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and at like some pool hall, which is now a Latin nightclub. And he got knocked out. So the guy he lost to it made it to the WEC later on. What was his last name? His nickname was Cheesesteak, Anthony Cheesesteak something. I forget his last name. He had a big, heavy-handed dude from Philly. So that's the first one I ever attended live. My first one was regional MMA, bro. I mean, I've been
that's way
trenches.
more fun.
Yeah.
What about Luke Cheesesteak, Thomas?
I do like a good cheesesteak. I had my first real Philly cheesesteak this year. I went to Angelo's, which I guess is a really good place down there. Dude, it was holy shit. It was good.
Cheesesteak is there's a place right next to me that like Bon Appetit said had the best cheesesteak in America. It is unbelievable.
When they do
if you
it
ever
right,
come back
it's
to
hard
Atlanta,
to
we
beat.
can go. It's so good.
All right, this is from Wizzleho. That's his name.
Okay.
It says Luke makes a delivery on his D bike. I can't read the caption. Can someone read it?
Don't mind me, fellas, just banging these dicks here to the White House.
Dicks everywhere, dicks.
Or that might be bringing, not banging.
Yeah, I do ride a e-bike, like a proper middle-aged white piece of shit dad. I don't wear jeans like this, and I do have a basket in the front, but it looks nothing like this one.
Your basket isn't filled with dicks?
It's not filled with dicks. It's usually my daughter's backpack or groceries. Yeah, that's typically what I fill it with. But fair enough on the meme. That one's okay. All right, we now go to Ryan. He's got 3 of these for us. Let's see what we got. Here's Brian Campbell says, that's what I love about these strawweights, man. I keep getting fatter and they stay the same weight.
You got to read it like McConaughey. That's what I love about these strawweights, man. I keep getting fatter and they stay the same weight. Yes, they do. Yes,
Brian Campbell's actually on a health kick, as I understand it. So God bless him for that. All right, what's the next one?
And the whip. He's got the whip.
He's got that whip. Long Island Luke looking over at doing a watch along on whoever the fuck for 7 people, going on a romantic weekend getaway with his girlfriend. I like how he's holding the bong too. Boy, they got your ass with this one, Long Island.
It's more than 7 people. I mean, come on. But also, we just went on a romantic getaway midweek, so we work it in.
This is a good one, though. Nevertheless, we got one more here from him. The perfect gene. Luke Thomas has thick, athletic genes. All right. I don't understand why I've got really Sydney Sweeney level cleavage. It's extremely off-putting,
That's provocative.
I have to say.
It gets the people going.
Also, I'm wearing a Canadian tuxedo, and I don't like that either. This is a weird one, and now I need
a really weird one, man.
All right, we got 4 from Mike. Let's see these. Go to college for 8 years, get your doctorate, become a lawyer, quit to cover.
That's in fact exactly the path.
Hell yeah, bro. That's a great one. All right, next. Your mileage may vary. Change my mind. The old Steven Crowder meme. I like this one. I guess I'm the only one who says that shit. All right, next. When you ask Long Island Luke if he's high, bong
hits.
That's a pretty good one, too. That's a pretty good one. All right, next. The UFC is a monopoly. Shut the fuck up and watch the fights. It's the Real Housewives meme, where it's usually that cat that has that look on its face. That is an excellent one. Did you see
that was a good crop.
Did you see that Dana White was like trying to look up Eddie Hearn info on, was it ChatGPT? I forget.
Yes, it's ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It was the best.
And it just gave him all this hallucinated bullshit.
It rocked. Like, a real sign of the times. Like, I could spend 3 seconds to formulate my own idea. I'll just ask ChatGPT what to say, and it's wrong.
Dude, these motherfuckers who are like rolling around being like, how do I get through life? I'm like, put the phone down. Start there.
I'm starting to think maybe there's a reason the quality of the UFC has dropped off, and it maybe we have an idea on why.
Yeah, the problem is they don't have enough money. That's really the issue, Jed. That's
True.
the big issue. All right, last but not least, we got one from Chewy. Says, "Don't be too hard on Violetta. We can't even hear the warp." Okay, so if you guys don't know, I do my live chat. Leave this up. I do my live chat at 3 p.m. East Coast time. My daughter typically gets home from school, I don't know, 3:45, 3:50, something like that. And I've started to call her Godzilla when she gets home because, bro, she opens the fucking door and it's like the goddamn SWAT team just ran through. I mean, shit's flying everywhere. She's screaming. Sometimes she'll have her friends with her like she did yesterday. They're all screaming. And I've explained to her, like, please don't do this outside my door. Do you think she listens? Of course she doesn't. She is lovely as the day is long, but this is a fucking hilarious one. I think this is one with Godzilla -0. Is that where this is from?
I think that's right.
Or -1, whatever it is.
One, yeah.
This is a good one. I like that one. She
I
is
mean,
Godzilla.
I just straight up thought it would be the lawnmower because that motherfucker had the audacity to mow his lawn at 3 p.m.
Could you believe that
Son
shit?
of a bitch.
Could you
Dude,
believe
why
that
are you
shit?
mowing your lawn during work hours?
Absurd.
Save that
I mean,
shit for non-work hours.
Save
Son
that
of
shit
a
for the middle of the
bitch.
night or really early in the morning.
Why
so
can't he do it
doesn't
at 5?
inconvenience
Why can't he
anyone.
do it at 5?
I know. It's absurd.
I agree. Just really a terrible human being.
People are like, when should he mow his lawn? I'm like, this answer is very obvious. When I'm not on the air.
I say, when I'm not broadcasting is when he should
Please,
do it.
please do that. All right, so we have a bit of a quiet week. We've got Macau, quick weekend, excuse me. We've got Macau tomorrow. Jed from MMAfighting.com. What is your coverage plan? How can folks get more of what you're doing?
So MMA Fighting's YouTube channel in like 30 minutes to an hour, make it bumped. We will be doing our preview show from Macau. We are also covering RAF and BKFC is this weekend. We didn't talk about that, but Darren Till is making his BKFC debut this weekend, so we'll have coverage of that. The great Mike Heck is boots on the ground for RAF 9. I think it's 9 this weekend, right? And all the stuff that we talked about earlier in the show. So all that you can find at MMAfighting.com, great website, or MMAfighting.com's YouTube channel. Pretty good YouTube channel.
Long Island, what do you got for us?
I got new episode of Prop Quiz dropping in like 20-ish minutes. It's Ben the Bane taking on Gaff. So that's a fun one. Tune into
nice.
that. And then I got full card watch along 4 a.m. tomorrow. Gonna have to go to bed early tonight, get a couple hours of sleep, and I'll be there bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at like 3:40.
Oh, I meant to ask you, Long Island, who do you think the Knicks are playing now that the series is tied 3-3 between the Spurs and the Thunder?
Dude, so even before the Knicks, I said I want Knicks Spurs because I want a rematch in 1999. And I was saying to Snyder, now that whoever the Knicks end up playing, I'm going to hate. And I don't really want to hate the Spurs. I already hate the Thunder. So I'm like, I'm just whatever happens. I'm kind of rooting for the Spurs to win, but I want them to lose either way. I fuck the Thunder. So hopefully Knicks just sweep them. I don't know, man. But
pick the Spurs. Nobody should want the Thunder to be near anything good ever.
Why do people hate the Thunder so much?
They
They're just
are
not
an
fun
abomination to basketball.
Yeah.
I don't watch them, so
they are.
lot
It's
of
as
free
if
throws.
James Harden infected their entire ethos of like they're just annoying. They flop a lot, like kind of nonsense fouls, and like they're just a very hateable team. If you are an OKC person, I'm sure you love them dearly, but like they're a very hateable team to watch play basketball.
I haven't watched them until this playoffs, and even then, not that much. I paid more attention to the Knicks and what they were doing. But like NBA Twitter fucking hates the Thunder. It's wild.
I mean, it is the biggest issue is that they play to the rules in that if they fall over and the refs are going to give you an extra free throw for that on every shot, like SGA is going to fall over if you are near him and see if they give him a call. And it's really egregiously annoying.
I basically don't watch NBA games that are not the Wizards until the playoffs. So I had no fucking idea that the Cavaliers had James Harden until I was watching the Knicks beat up on him.
Beat the shit out of him.
He did real bad. He did real fucking bad. I couldn't believe how bad he was.
He's old. So,
Yeah,
comes
he's
no
nowhere
small.
near like where he was in his prime. You got to.
Oh, I could tell because Jalen Brunson was crossing him up constantly. He was shitty. All right, let's remind everyone you can get at morningkombat.shop. This will only be for 3 more days, today, tomorrow, and the day after that. That is it. With the 3 designs left, if you want to get the Whippets shirt, Now is the time to do it right there. That's my favorite. But of course, you can get all of them here if you want. morningkombat.shop. Like and subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. I'm not going to have any live coverage of the fights, but I'll have a recap on my YouTube channel once they are over. That is it for me. That is it for Jed. That is it for Long Island. That's it for all of us here. Check out their coverage over the weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, may all of your gains be loyal.